Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to, not really sure what to call this actually, but essentially one of the rambles slash podcasts slash just rant or kind of overall talk with some of the Olympus boys. So basically myself, I guess I'm hosting this one and I'm joined by a couple of the boys. So go ahead and introduce yourself, guys.
You go ahead, Bubs.
Alright, hey, I'm Bubbsy or the Bubbsy. Um, yeah, just JGEX making it really easy to make a rant these days, so figured we'd talk about stuff and yeah, really passionate about the game and yeah, excited to just talk about everything that's been happening lately.
Yeah, my name is Jukeboxromeo. Some of you might know me. I used to play a lot of RuneScape. Now I play a little bit of RuneScape. I'm extremely excited to be on Loug's annual video upload.
Man, you
So
had to
yeah,
actually
let's
say
get into
that.
it.
That's great. Yeah, but what Bubbsy said about Jagex just essentially giving us like so much topics. There's just been a lot to talk about lately. So Bubbsy was essentially the one who actually reached out and kind of said, "Hey, let's get a ramble together. Let's get a group of people." So thank you for
It,
kicking us off, Bubbsy.
it was actually your tweet to Mod Arcane that you tagged me in, and then that's why I messaged you. I was like, okay, let's actually do that.
Wait, are we
Yeah.
are we tweeting this video at him when it
maybe
drops?
maybe not maybe
give
not
him
at
give
him.
him no, give him credit for it. Like just respond to that. Be like, you inspired us to make this.
Got us off our fat lazy asses. Great. Cool. Well, before we get too sidetracked, let's just start off with the first topic. Obviously one of the super controversial or um, I guess updates that or announcements that Jagex has done recently has been the equipment reworks, of course. Um, a lot of people have been talking about it. I don't know if you guys have been watching Sebe's podcast, Sebe Casts.
I have, yeah. I
Yeah,
actually
I have. Yeah.
I have not watched the most recent one with Guppy. I watched
Dude,
most of
prepare
his.
your
I watched.
prepare yourself.
Oh, I know, dude. I saw it was two-part. I was like, damn. Like I
They're
thought
both
I did.
4 hours each.
I know I'm already getting off track. I did the first one with him, and like we talked for like what, like 2.5 hours, and I was like, damn, this is like as long as I can talk about the game. And then I saw this. Like he actually talked to this guy for 8 hours about
Dude,
this.
Guppy is
Yeah, I
like
watched.
super passionate though. It's kind of cool seeing them like together, but
Yeah, huge brain individual for sure. A lot of
100%.
respect for that guy. But yeah, I saw his initial response to the blog. I have not seen the most recent video he did.
Gotcha. So there's obviously been a lot of changes to that too. So we can talk about like the first initial proposals, and we can also talk about like the changes too that they made if we want to. Doesn't really matter. Also, excuse just before we like kick it off too. Excuse the red chin display of skill in the background. I'm not even ticking. I'm just like I can't multitask, so I'm just like clicking traps.
For sure, yeah. I'm really not good at talking and doing efficient methods at the same time.
Let me ask, Lou, what world are you in? I have some arrows to fletch. I might come join you.
At chins,
Yeah,
I'm in 485,
445. Okay.
485.
Oh, 485. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm at Prip chins though. Yeah, let's just talk about first of all the probably the biggest one is the blowpipe nerf. So let's just talk about that a little bit and see kind of where we go from there. I guess I'll start off basically my opinion on it. Um, First off, my I guess my like original thought was the question you have to ask yourself is like, is the blowpipe actually in need of a nerf? In my opinion, I think it is. Like um, it's been a long time coming that it has been pretty much hands down the most versatile weapon in the game. Like just used in the most amount of places, um, with the highest DPS for anything that has the ability to be ranged. Pretty much is viable to use the blowpipe at. even Arma, like people can do. It's not the best DPS, but people can just straight up blowpipe Arma and get.
Yeah, even things with range defense. Like that was the main issue that I was hearing from JX about why they wanted to nerf it was I remember watching the stream that they put on right after they put the blog, and I'm like, wow, they're bold, going live right after dropping that blog.
Yeah.
I kind of laughed at myself because I knew what the chat was going to look like already, and you know, this community can be extremely toxic at times.
So
And
do you
yeah,
think,
I already knew
Bubbsy,
what that was going to look like.
you have a lot of like opinions on this too. So I actually don't think okay, so the first blog, I actually thought it was pretty crazy. Like I thought they were going to actually nerf it into the ground. I'm really happy that they actually took a lot of feedback on, whether that's via Reddit, whining, or Twitter, flaming, or like people in Discord just chatting and stuff like that. I'm not sure, but
It was like a 95% negative reaction. Like there was easily a few streamers here and there that were going like, no, nerf the shit out of it. And then everyone else just hated the idea of their precious blowpipe being nerfed.
dude, I mean, can you blame people a lot of the time though? Like you can't really expect a positive reaction. I think they actually said that on the Q&A. I watched briefly the Q&A on was it Wednesday, and
yeah, like they were not expecting a positive reaction at all. Like,
no.
yeah, I think Aiza said he was sweating or like he was so stressed about going live. Yeah, and I can definitely understand that, but it is something that needs to be done. Like the example that they gave on stream was when they were developing Seracnus, and they didn't want range to be good there. So then they just have to whack a ridiculous amount of range defense there. And
that's the only thing they can do to prevent blowpipe from being viable, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it can, like, what they're saying is, like, Tebow is super easy for them to control for new content because damage and accuracy scales with mage. But then, so, you know, it makes it really easy for them. But with the blowpipe being as good as it is, it's just, you can't make content without making range, like, absolutely horrible there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you also have a huge advantage when it comes to bouncing around Tebow, just because obviously you're bouncing around the magic level in particular. That's the driving factor behind Tebow DPS. But when it comes to mage defense, right, there's two factors that go into mage defense. So you can give something a moderate mage level and a high mage defense, and it can be good. Like it can have magic resistance, right? Like you don't have to just crank down magic level to prevent Tebow from being OP, and then you just make max mage best in slot everywhere, right?
Yeah.
I think you have options there, but the way, like, you don't have that same luxury with when it comes to range, because you can't bounce around Tebow, or you can't bounce around blowpipe in particular. You can add, you have your defense stat and you have your range defense bonus.
Mm-hmm.
If you increase that range defense bonus, like, unless something has huge health and ruby bolts become viable, then by trying to keep blowpipe from being meta there, you choke out every other range weapon, right?
So they've been left arbitrary. Like, do you think just adding straight range defense is like super arbitrary to like prevent something from being good, or is that just like something they have to do for a boss?
I don't think it's I don't think it's arbitrary, because I think it's perfectly fine in the sense of game design to say we don't want this to be a boss that you kill with range. Mm-hmm. I think especially with how strong range is in this game in general, I don't think that's a problem. But I don't think they don't have the tools right now to draw a line to say we want range to be viable here, but not have blowpipe be the best. Outside of just making something so far away, unless it's like Zuck, where they make it so you literally can't reach it with blowpipe. Like that's your option, right?
That's a good point, actually. Like, why don't we blowpipe Zuck? Well, we would, except it's too far away.
Like that's just the point they've gotten themselves into, and I guess I'll kind of circle back to your first question: does it need a nerf? I'm definitely more in favor of this nerf than I know the other two people in this discussion are. I think
the other two people.
Yeah, but you want named? You want named, Bubbsy? I know Bubbsy hates this. I'm in favor. No, I think blowpipe came out at a time when range was extremely weak, right? It was
Yes.
before Rigor, it was before Zenites, it was before Assembler. So there wasn't range strength available. So range was weak at the time this came out. And I mean, my issue with Blowpipe is just the base stats it provided. Like the fact that it gave a straight plus 30 range strength to anything. Like I think that is so fundamentally broken. Like the fact that you get the same max hit on task currently with black or addy darts
Yeah.
on task. Like just I think there are fundamental issues with the Blowpipe that need to be addressed. I mean, we'll get into the specifics of this to say like is every aspect of this nerf warranted? Is it like overall going to be healthy for the game? Probably not. I think I have issues with certain areas and certain things, especially for mid game players, that it's going to hurt. But I think Blowpipe, as it has existed, is broken and is in need of some form of change.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, one of the things I think has affected this, you were totally right when you said it. Juke, Blowpipe did come out at a time before all the what the hell am I trying? Range strength items in the game, right? So
Mhm.
Blowpipe has essentially gotten so many just direct buffs, right, to its
Mhm.
DPS. And with a two-tick weapon, that's like exponential, essentially. Every single range strength you add, it's exponential.
Mhm.
The two-tick weapon. I think the most surprising thing to me on the blog was the fact that they admitted that they didn't mean it to be two-tick on rapid. Did you guys laugh at that part of the blog, or was
Yeah,
that just me?
yeah.
Like,
It might be,
it
yeah.
was surprising to read that for sure.
It
To not have them do like a day one oopsie patch on that, and instead see it being nerfed, several years later is not something that would happen with a weapon today.
No.
right.
Like
I think
they've come
also
far for Q&A just in terms of those smaller things, if that makes sense. But
no, they have. I wanted to make one other point too, which I don't know the exact date. I guess I should have looked this up. I hadn't fully thought out all of these trains of thought ahead of time. I don't know if Warhammer had been out when Zulrah was released. I don't think it had been. It was definitely before the BGS buff. I think, especially in team content now, the availability of defense reduction
yeah.
also just makes Blowpipe like the fact that you can get like Blowpipe Dragon Darts is like the same DPS as Scythe in
Hmm.
top, just because you can get everything to 0 defense. Like that also just makes it like you have to balance around any other any other future team content around that as well, right? Like I don't know. I think the Blowpipe being able to match that level of DPS through defense reduction is also a fault, and that's also something that just wasn't a thing when Blowpipe came out, right? Like that wasn't something they had to consider. It's something that's
Yeah,
evolved since then.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like your spec weapons at the time of release of Blowpipe were, fairly limited, or they weren't defense reducing, or the defense reducing weapon specs weren't relevant because they weren't good. It was like DDS or whatever.
Mhm.
Yeah, BGS was 100%, wasn't it?
I don't think it was 100, but I want to say it might
Was it
have been
70?
100. I think I wanted to say 65. Let me pull it up real quick.
Because I remember doing that change. It's kind of interesting to like think back and be like, what? Yeah, you're right. BGS wasn't 100.
Yeah, April 2015, special attack cost reduced from 100% to 65.
Jeez.
And then 2 years later from 65 to 50.
Mm.
Wow.
So and Blowpipe was
I
2015,
think
right?
ZGS got the same, didn't it? ZGS used to be 100.
CGS, it used to not be. You used to not be able to get 2. I know that for sure. I don't remember what it was exactly.
It's really interesting.
Yeah.
Um, Going back to Blowpipe, uh, I'm curious to what you guys think about how how Jagex is approaching the Blowpipe nerf though, because I think again we're all in agreement that like it probably has just been overtuned from like how the game has gone, all the updates that insidiously uh,
Made it
maybe
stronger and stronger and
mistakenly
stronger.
made it stronger.
Yeah.
But I'm curious what you guys think of like how it's being buffed in terms of, or sorry, nerfed in terms of mainly the accuracy.
I think the accuracy is definitely probably the primary thing you need to hit, right? Because reducing the accuracy does open up things like ACB opens up maybe a buffed version of Crystal set. I think that in itself allows some other range weapons to fill in the gap, right? I'm just trying to think, like, is there anything you currently don't blowpipe or T-bow? Like, I haven't equipped a crossbow in 2 or 3 months in it for anything I've done. Like, I think attacking the accuracy is a strong starting point. It's probably not all that needs to be done, but it definitely, yeah, I think it's the best. I think it's the best place to start. Really.
Like if you nerf the accuracy, you essentially eliminate the blowpipe. Let's just say theoretically, completely 100% eliminate blowpipe for higher defense things, right? So let's just give an example of like triple jads, right, in the Inferno.
Mm-hmm.
Theoretically, you wouldn't be able to blowpipe them anymore. Even though, you know, I have a feeling that even with the Bubbsy, I'd still be able to like get slightly higher DPS, even with a less accuracy blowpipe than like an ACB. But, you know, it's not going to be like horrendous if you ACB the Jads, right? Compared to your alternative.
Correct, yeah. Yeah, and maybe you crystal bow as well. I actually really like the idea of buffing this set. Especially if you keep the set effect itself strong as opposed to the individual pieces, so it doesn't become like an on-task powerhouse.
Yeah, like a Slayer thing.
Yeah, I like the idea of that. So
what do you
two both think that just accuracy should be nerfed and max hit should stay the same?
Not necessarily, but that's I think that's like the main thing that needs to get hit. So I think the way that they're going with mainly nerfing the accuracy is the correct thing. What about you?
So I just thought the way that they went around it is a little bit wrong by just nerfing the weapon itself, because they're complaining about it being good in places where they don't want it to be, and it makes things hard to be designed for future content. And I thought, why not make a new resistance too and give things a resistance to darts? I think that's like the easy way to kind of, combat the idea that they don't like people using the blowpipe at, say, Bandos. And like, of all the Reddit comments and tweets and that, I didn't see anyone complaining about, their Bandos kills per hour going down or whatever, or, places where I think we can all agree where the blowpipe just shouldn't be best in slot could get this resistance, but then it's still going to be good in the places where it was designed, where people are complaining, and the content that was designed with the blowpipe in mind, like Chambers and Inferno especially. Like the main complaint there was set spawning and the healers.
I actually have never heard someone suggest that give a resistance to a certain type of weapon. That's kind of interesting.
And it's not like, some people would probably call it an easy fix, or law breaking in a way, but it's not law breaking to see your darts fling off Bandos,
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this then: as opposed to doing that, what's wrong with saying? So okay, let's start with the idea you started with, where places where they don't want the blowpipe to be meta. Let's assume generally that we're talking about high defense monsters like Bandos, or I don't even know what another great example would be. Let's say Seractus, right? Because they clearly didn't want it to be meta there.
Yeah.
As opposed to putting a dart specific resistance on that, doesn't lowering the accuracy of blowpipe make blowpipe fit its other niches while allowing another range weapon to be viable at Bandos or Seractus, right? Like that's just how I'm looking at it right now. Like I don't think like losing that, like at least I've only seen the on task numbers for Inferno now, but like the blowpipe nerf is adding like a minute or a little bit more than a minute to Inferno speedrunning. Like, and you use blowpipe for most of that run.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not a large amount of time to be added. Like, it sucks for the speedrunning community. Like, let's just say that it sucks for them. But for most of the players, it's not killing blowpipe's viability at that content. So I
Yeah,
don't.
like the first nerf definitely was making a massive hit there, and I had that idea before they released the updated. Hey, we're actually going to buff darts now, and I think what they've got right now is like a lot better than what they were initially suggesting.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I don't have too much to complain about what they're suggesting right now. I know you said I haven't looked at the numbers, but I know you said you want one extra max hit
Oh yeah, this was just
on Rune or Dragon. I'm guessing you know the numbers on that one.
I do. So currently, the difference on task, at least, actually on task and off task both, with max gear, the difference between Dragon and Rune Darts is 2 max hits. With the most recent updated proposal, it's going to go to 3 max hit difference. I'm not a fan of that gap widening between the two. Partially because I guess you could call that my own bias as an Ironman, but like I also just don't think that, because I think that like 3 max hits is significant, especially on something that hits that rapidly. I don't know if I don't
Yeah,
I
it's
don't
a
I don't
big
like
it's a big
that
difference.
widening. Like I don't like
Yeah,
slapping that high of a cost to use something to make it viable somewhere.
yeah, and it was
That's more of
like
a
they
separate
said
discussion.
we don't want to nerf it from 2 ticks to 3 ticks because, as you know, leagues everything feels different. Blah blah blah. It's going to feel pretty different that you're not able to hit the same numbers that you were able to hit before.
Right.
You know.
Well, let me toss something at you guys. This is kind of the general way I've been trying to think about the blowpipe changes, like outside of my own biases for how I use it. I see blowpipe as something that should be a viable weapon somewhere that, in theory, you would use darts, right? Like if you think about darts before blowpipe existed, and you think, what is this strong against? You're talking against about low defense, low HP monsters that you need to kill rapidly. I
Mhm.
think blowpipe should make darts stronger there. It shouldn't make darts become a viable use somewhere where it like prior it never would have been considered, right?
Yeah,
Which
like
I think
if
it
you
either has
actually
become.
threw dragon darts at bandas, like you're actually never gonna hit, right? Because like
Yeah, exactly.
there's no additional, or there wasn't as much additional accuracy just on darts, right? Blowpipe
Correct.
itself having what was it? Was it 30
60.
or
60. It's
60?
getting
Okay,
nerfed to
to
30.
30. That's what I thought. Yeah. So having that like built-in 60 accuracy, that was just like that's what 3/5 of an ACB. ACB has like 100, I think, right? So
Yeah,
that's
it's
just
either
like
100
straight up.
or what? Yeah, something like that.
But again, yeah, with darts. So I think in that respect, they're definitely approaching it well.
I guess so.
What do you think of the specific numbers? So we talked about like dragon and rune darts having those 3 max hit difference with the new proposal, right?
Mhm.
What do you think about the numbers on the lesser darts than that, like adamant?
Honestly, I haven't looked too much at the specific spread for anything below adamant, so I can't comment on it. I think it's good that they're widening the gap between Addy and Rune because I mean that was very much needed.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
I
guys,
definitely agree with that as well. Like, it was very minor to be using rune darts over adamant before. So now it's like an actual serious consideration that you've got to be thinking about, especially as an Ironman. Obviously, am I going to make these rune darts? Because when you look at the like current day efficient, like, okay, am I going to use my rune bars to make rune plate bodies and then elk them, or am I going to make rune darts for the DPS increase? That DPS increase for any content in the game right now is just it's flat out not worth it.
yeah,
And me knowing that, I still use rune darts like everywhere.
yeah,
But
even more so for us, right? Or sorry, even less so for us because for us, GP is outside of your skilling goals, which obviously GP has some value. Most people who are using blowpipe are normal accounts, right? Not restricted. And they're PVMing for money. If you're PVMing for money, where would you ever use rune darts currently? Like literally nowhere over adamant. Like
Yeah.
there was no niche for them.
Like if
Dragon darts were
you're
for speedrunners, and there was nothing else.
yeah, if you're gonna like be super budget, you use adamant. If you're gonna like get the high DPS, you use dragon. Like there's no rune dart.
Yeah.
And I
Niche.
found out like about 6 months ago when a IRL friend of mine got to doing Hyter on his Ironman. We started looking at the DPS calcs of myth darts versus adamant darts, and it's exactly the same. Like you like save like a second per kill, and that was just like the accuracy difference of the darts. They didn't actually give a max hit.
Yeah.
So I think it is really good that they're widening the distance on the dart tiers to like 100%. You're going to get an extra max hit 2, 3 if you're going to use the better darts. You're going to have to be making a conscious decision about what darts you're making now.
Yeah, especially on like I like the fact that they're doing it on and off task, right? Like a lot of the times, I think with the on task bonus, it made that spread pre-nerf like super like the way it is now in game. It made that super small, so there was no spread. And
Mhm.
again, I think was it you, Juke, who said it was essentially on task. It was adamant was the same as like black.
Yeah, let me
Max
read
set.
these off. This is current max range on task. Bronze is 28, Iron and Steel are 29, Black Myth and Addy are 31, Rune is 32, Dragon is 34. So 6 max hits. Like, was that not even 20% difference between current Bronze and Dragon?
That's
Yeah,
insane.
like there's no decision making there because you just they're so close together, or they don't even give a max hit, so you're just going to use whatever you want, and I think that's definitely bad. Like I can't think of a better word. Yeah, that's just bad. Like
Yeah, I agree with Bubbsy for sure. The widening of those dart tiers and how they're like how effective they are essentially in terms of their range strength and max hits um, is huge, and it should have been like that I think from the start. I don't know why they were so close within like some of the tiers. There's like one range strength difference that and how often is that really going to give um, like a max hit?
an actual max hit. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
let me say this. This might almost sound like a trivial distinction to make, but I like the idea of blowpipe being an amplification to the dart you chose to use, as opposed to the current choice being, oh, you blowpipe that boss. Well, yeah, use
For
whatever dart, dude.
sure.
It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
What darts do you use? Dude,
Yeah, for sure. Like,
just
Yeah,
whatever you
but
have
who
in your
asked
bank,
that
bro. It doesn't matter.
question? No one asked that question. Like, oh, and make sure you've got these darts in your blowpipe, otherwise you're just gonna have a bad time. Like, I've never heard anyone say that. So that, yeah, that's so true.
Um,
I'm curious to ask you guys a little bit. We've talked a lot about like the numbers kind of in a vacuum. As it stands right now, how do you see this, like the blowpipe nerf actually playing out, like in game, like especially for mid-level players? I think that's what's going to affect the most.
I
Like,
was
what do you guys
actually
see as being the ramifications to
I
this?
was actually gonna specifically talk about like how I will be impacted personally. I've pretty much been Addy Dark Gang for like ever.
Yeah,
Um,
Top Andy.
Tom Andy, Addy Darts, just like everywhere, dude. Like Chamber of Xerix, I pretty much have never used Rune Darts. And I'm actually only using Rune Darts now, pre like nerf, to actually do like Grotesque Guardians.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Because I want to do those essentially before Blowpipe gets the nerf. Because that and I think KQ is probably one of the two of the places that are going to be the biggest, the most affected rather by the Blowpipe in terms of like the speed of the kill for KQ and also the skipping of the little purple balls or whatever at Grotesque Guardians.
True.
Yeah,
So I'm kind of
True.
trying to
yeah.
rush that actually a little bit, and hopefully I spin the pet. But how in terms of how it's going to actually impact me, I think so. I've always been. I've actually never made rune darts other than for like I think it's Elite Clue Rec or something like that. I've never made rune darts pretty much for any like PVM reason on my account. And I think that's 100% going to change. I've always made was it rune plate legs, right, which is the most GP per bar essentially,
Yep.
and just alk to those kind of thing. It was just straight up rune ore, rune bars, always an alkable, always like straight up GP for my account. 100% going to change, and I'm pretty much going to be using rune from here on out in terms of for darts. I think if I'm not wrong here, Rune is going to be the equivalent of Mithril darts, I believe.
I have the new ones if you're curious.
Yeah, sure. Like in comparison, like to how
yeah,
they
so
relate
current
to the old ones.
yeah current Blacksmith Addy 31, Rune 32, Dragon 34. After the changes, it's going to be Addy 27, so -4 from current Addy. Rune 29, so -2 from current Addy. Dragon 32, so equivalent to current Rune. That's on task, but I believe the different, like the gaps are the same off task.
Yeah. So again, the Rune darts post nerf will be the equivalent of roughly the Mithril darts pre nerf, right? It sounds like that. So
Yes.
I probably will end up going that route and using Rune like everywhere I end up needing to blow pipe.
Do you think you will use Dragon at Grotesque?
I will be very tempted actually, but I'm just
That's the one place I'm considering.
I'm gonna be saving the dragon darts just for whenever I need to. But yeah, I guess we're back to being Vorkath slaved for darts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think, Bubbsy, in terms of how it's gonna affect you? Like, and maybe you were giving some examples of like where you think it's actually gonna be affected the most. Maybe you can talk about that.
Yeah, so I thought of like on the initial nerf blog, the first thing that I thought about was Hydra, which is, I guess that's just kind of where my brain first went, because it was like, all right, 95 Slayer, that's like the first real use of a blowpipe, where it's really relevant is Hydra, and because you get your occult at 93, and then you start doing your Zulrah, and then you get your blowpipe, and then your 95 Slayer, and you start using it Hydra. With the numbers of the initial nerf, I started looking at just using Addy darts and hitting drop rate of the claw, which is 1,000. You're looking at 300 hours extra killing Hydra just because of the DPS loss of the darts, and I thought that was way too significant. So when I saw those numbers, I really wasn't a fan. It doesn't bother me as much now with what's currently proposed. Like, it's obviously still worse, but yeah, like it's not 300 hours.
Do you know what the difference in kill times is? Roughly?
Let me ask you: Are you off? Sorry, real quick? I don't want to. It feels terrible calling you out. Are you off by a factor of 10 there? Because it's currently like a 70-hour grind or 60-hour grind total. Like, I don't know how. I'm trying to think. I can't think how it'd be 300 hours difference. I think you're off by a factor of 10 there.
Mate, I could be.
Yeah, because in terms of kill times, like you could just multiply that by 1,000. Obviously, the difference. But I think the current kill times are roughly like just over 2 minutes for a blowpipe, right? Like I would maybe let's say like 205, 210 maybe for average.
That sounds right, because it's just like 22, 23 kills an hour with blowpipe. Like maybe a little lower than that, like 21, 22.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at my notes. So it could be.
assuming it bumps up to like 230 a kill, right? 30-second respawn. That's a 3-minute kill. That's 20 kills an hour. So you're losing like roughly like 3 kills an hour, let's say.
Yeah, probably 3 or 4. It's probably like 15% slower overall ballpark.
Yeah. So
which isn't inconsequential.
No, but it's still a lot. Yeah. It's not 300 hours, but it's.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, I tried to look at the numbers prior to.
It's all good, dude. Let me touch this though. I think the difference for how it impacts people. I guess real quick for me. I don't know. It's gonna make Grotesque suck. I'm currently hunting that bet. I was also currently slowly trying to get the sub 70 Inferno. I was getting kind of close. It's not going to kill that at all, but it's going to suck a little bit, especially since I'm probably going to be forced to use rune darts there. I'm doing a fair bit of Tob. I have quite a bit of rune right now. I thankfully hadn't smithed any in a long time, so I should be able to shift that to darts, but just going to make everything a little bit more expensive, which is unfortunate. But what I wanted to touch on as far as the impact of it is, I think less so. Almost, I don't want to say it's not impactful and stuff like Hydra. It definitely is. Right? Like everything's just a little slower now. But I worry that the blowpipe nerf is going to make content much less accessible to mid-level players. Especially, I think God Wars and solo chambers are both going to get hurt a lot. Because starting with Chambers, a lot of things in Chambers have pretty high defense, right? So Shamans, Mystic, Vasa, Olmhead, all things that you currently blowpipe before you have a bow. Those are all going to get hurt a lot. I didn't plug in the numbers for the updated proposal. Like for the initial changes, Mystics, Vasa, and Olmhead were all losing like 40% DPS.
That's like
with
a
adamant
lot.
darts. Like in that stuff like that, stuff that just it consumes supplies, right? So if you're like blowpipe head phase, if you're not extremely familiar with it already, like it's kind of rough, right? Like you're going to use a couple brews on that, making that take 40 or 50% longer. You're taking more damage, you're brewing more, you're losing more DPS from that. Like I think the process of like getting into solo raids now is it's just so much harder, right?
Yeah,
like,
it's definitely harder. Yeah.
And like same with God Wars, like if you're in max gear and you have rigor and stuff already, like you're gonna be fine, right? Killing minions after the kill is gonna be slower. But if you're trying to do like Eagle Eye God Wars right now, and you're kind of like borderline, you're gonna struggle to kill minions before the boss.
Like, can you kill 3 minions in the period of a minute and 30 seconds before the boss comes up? Collect bones and use bones to peaches, bro. Yeah. I even struggle to collect using the bones to peaches spell and stuff like that. Doing Sarah.
Yeah, I already run out of Zammy. Dude, Zammy's like spawning on zombies that try to finish minions already. Like, I think that's the stuff that's going to get hurt. And we all kind of talk about the numbers. And we're like, yeah, there's a problem with these numbers. But then I see like, this is how it's actually impacting like people who are trying to get into end game content. And it's going to hurt them a lot. Like not.
Yeah, like the KQ and Grotesque Guardians examples that Luke gave before are perfect. Like, because it's not just DPS there, but for KQ, because that boss has got 100% accuracy on every single hit, you just take a lot more damage. So finishing the kill faster means less food used. Less food used means more kills at the boss. Similar at GG, it means potentially skipping that part of the fight because you do enough DPS, and it's just not going to be viable anymore. It doesn't just change DPS, but it changes the mechanics of how a fight or how staying at a boss also changes.
Like that balance, right?
And that's similar to that head phase example that you gave at Cox, because you take more damage overall.
Yeah. Yeah, now like you can. I mean, are you gonna imagine trying to get into doing no preps with blowpipe and being like, oh, I need to budget 6 brews for head phase.
Yeah. The thing that stood out to me the most was definitely head phase, obviously, but also Vasa. Like, do you guys remember how like right to present day blowpipe Vasa, how many zeros you actually hit? Like it's bad already.
I had a fun fact written down in my notes for this. As the proposal was initially given, I don't know if this is still the case. Elder Maul is better DPS against Vasa than blowpipe, rigor, addy darts.
What?
Elder Maul Vasa.
Let's go.
I don't know. Like it's stupid, right? Like Vasa is tanky already. You're not going to be able to kill it. You're not going to get Ruby Bolt procs. Its health is too low. Like, are you going to kill it with an ACB? You're going to do like 8 crystal. Like,
so my question is, do you think Jags intended Vasa to be blowpiped? Like, was this one of the bosses? Was this the Bandos of raids? And then people just started blowpiping it because they could?
That's a good question. They purposely gave it low crush defense. It has high stab and slash defense and like almost nothing. Like it's like plus 100 at the other two. It's like plus 10 crush defense, and then like a middle value for range defense, like plus 50 or something like that. I'm just trying to remember off the top of my head. I don't know if they intended it to be ranged. I can't imagine they intended it to be blowpipe, but at the same time, they also didn't really balance this stuff around the concept of soloing at any rate, right?
No.
Like teams will still be able to kill it because you just have the raw DPS amount and you can kill the crystals fast enough. But like
for sure, yeah, teams, it makes
slightly
no real difference for teams, yeah. But like, yeah, I remember when I got into Chambers, it was something that was definitely on my mind was like what was intended when they made this. And like, I think the main example there was Tecton. And like, I remember seeing this like by today's standards, absolute joke of a video where this guy's in like full tanky armor, like something
Yeah.
from Barrows. He's just praying melee the entire time, trying to say that, you know, Hijacking Tecton is really good. And it's just like, wow, like,
Dude, learn
is
this. Gotta learn
this
this.
how it was intended? Did they just want us to sit in front of Tecton's face and get slapped around with our melee power up? Like, and now we're just like, you know, backstepping with the maul, or if you're scything, we're like running around and switching between mace and, you know, like, it's really interesting to see. But it's the same with RuneScape in all aspects, which is, you know, like they design something and then they put it out, and then the players find, like, you know, they manipulate that into doing it the best way possible, which is really part of the fun of this game to me. And it's really sad when you kind of see something get nerfed because someone's doing stuff differently the way it wasn't intended.
I mean, I don't know about you two, but I, for one, do know the 7-tick Tecton walk.
The 7-tick.
Yeah, dude, it's 7-tick. But no, I want to say this because we're touching on chambers. There's one other thing too. Solo CM is no longer possible without a twisted bow. It is at 100%. Like, it was already like efficiently gated by that, right? Like, it's not efficient to do solos without bow, but it is no longer possible, right? Like, you are just straight up not killing CM Vasa.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, no. Like, good luck killing that thing with, like, I don't know, your adamant diamond bolts or whatever the hell. Like,
Yeah, like, I mean, some of my buddies, like, currently, like, they do solo CM with, like, they're like 11 out of 12 without T-bow. Like, it's not great, but it's not bad. Like, they do it till they get kits or dust, just while grinding. It's like, it's definitely doable, right? It's like low 50-minute raids, but it's just, it's no longer possible. Just that's just straight up gone.
yeah,
because you get to a point
at the time
where even without T-bow, CM becomes like more alluring because it means you don't have to scout. Even with the scouting nerf that we've got recently, it doesn't matter. If you've done 2,000 raids and you've scouted every single one yourself, you start to despise scouting.
Yeah.
So CM starts to look pretty alluring.
CM has been amazing. I recently got the T-bow like a month ago, and I've been loving solo CM. Extremely fun. Also, I'm still currently prepping too. Just
did you tweet that, Juke? Did I miss that?
No, dude, I'm retired from Twitter. That's unrelated to this. I haven't tweeted shit in like 2 months.
You've got to unretire to tweet this ramble though, right?
Yeah, it was getting a little too negative. I was tired of seeing negativity. That's completely unrelated. We don't have to get into it. But yeah,
maybe wait till the nerf has gone through for the low pipe.
No kidding. Yeah,
give it 2 months. Everyone's accepted that the blowpipe's a piece of shit, and then jump back on Twitter. It'll all be okay.
Yeah, but like I was starting to talk with some of my buddies like are getting into Ironman mode now, and like the question they have is like, is solo chambers even possible now? Like, without doing some team raids first, especially to get rigor at least. Like, am I just wasting my time if I try to do this? And like, I don't know how to answer that. It seems like that might just be the case.
Like, I think you could just do team raids and then get rigor and then do solo raids. But it's not just like, is solo raids possible, or is it good, or is it still viable without, you know, rigor and with a blowpipe or whatever? But it's also, you've got to think about the people that don't know how to solo already. Like, a lower DPS weapon is just going to make it harder to learn.
To be fair, everything else. So like,
because like when you compare like rune darts, so like current day right now, I could jump in with bronze darts and then not use rigor, and like I could do Chambers of Zeri. But then someone who is learning, they definitely couldn't do that because, you know, the weapon's not as powerful. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's relevant as well, is the idea that someone is learning and that the weapon they're using isn't as powerful.
Head phase is going. You're not going to blowpipe. I'm going to say it now. Blowpipe head phase is dead. You're going to crossbow it. You blowpipe with the nerf. I know it. Blowpipe with the nerf, especially if you don't know what you're doing. Like, really understand it. Blowpipe compounds on itself so quickly when you start getting hit, right? Like you start getting acid, you get burned, you're brewing down, your stats aren't as high. Things build up on each other, and people don't stay ahead of that very well, especially when learning. Like
Yeah, I agree.
Absolutely, yeah.
it's
People
gonna
just
be a
chug
mess.
through.
Someone's
They
gonna be
chug
at like
really hard.
someone's gonna be at like 40 out of 99 range, running around in circles, acid following them,
Yeah,
doing
not
no
not going
damage
to
to
the safe
head
spot
phase.
so you don't even turn the head. They just like camp middle and like get
Taking
smoked
autos,
by
bang, bang,
40s.
bang.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by like someone who's learning, probably because they had a higher DPS weapon, might have been able to get through head phase with all that happening if they had, 4 brews, whatever, for head phase. But post nerf, that's just it's no longer realistic to kind of just be able to chug those brews and be able to get through it. You've got to be a lot more skilled to be able to do it. And there's no learning a solo head phase in team raids. It just doesn't happen.
Exactly. I think
So
this probably is no longer the case with the updated blog. Because I mean, like, I think like I mentioned, the time on task for Inferno, you're not losing a lot of time. What I was a little worried when I first saw that, though, is it looked like you were going to lose the ability to just DPS something down on a bad spawn before you really understand how to do all the solves. You know what I mean, Luke?
Yeah.
Like if you have like an awkward like melee or blob north or something, you're like, fuck it, I'm gonna kill this melee. I'm not gonna flick it. I'm just gonna can't pray melee and deal with the blob hits.
So
Like, I
actually,
think that's what you were gonna lose with interesting. Maybe you're not gonna lose that now. I think it's hard to say. Like on task, blowpipe is still fine. Like blowpipe rigor, you're still gonna nuke stuff. But I don't know if like going for your first escape, especially if you're like not in max gear, was going to be like that.
so I have a couple things to say on that. Let me just touch on the Inferno thing because you just said it. I don't know if you saw, you probably didn't. But I did my Altscape
I did.
yesterday
Yeah.
actually.
Congratulations.
I kind of wanted to like just get it out of the way before the nerf. But one of the things I ran into, I think it was on 63 actually, which is like the worst wave period. But I got a really bad blob spawn. It was like 2 blobs on one side of the pillar, and then the other side of the pillar was everything else. So I kind of like got stuck in like a weird spot where I was like flicking the mage and the range on one side of the pillar while the blob like crept down, and I didn't save spot it correctly. So I kind of had to like flick while trying to flick the blob, but then I just like messed up and I ended up in a really weird position. And I had to essentially just throw on the throw on the tank plate, which is my Justy plate, and like blowpipe down the blob basically. And that was like just my fallback, right? So I got through it. I had to chug like a full brew just because it. But the only reason I really got through that was, um, the original part where I was panicking. Until I calmed down, got my composure, and then I was flicking. I think it was a melee in the range on me at that time, and then the
Yeah.
blobs as well. But yeah, I just was calmly flicking the blob in the range once I composed myself. Sorry, the range and the melee rather. And then just blowpipe down the blob at that point. Yeah, I don't know if you're gonna still be able to do that to the same extent. So you might actually be forced a little bit more into trying to make those decisions quicker. Obviously, I'm nowhere near a super good Infernoer, if that's the word. I only have like
Sure.
3 KC on my iron. I have 1 alt KC, and then I got a couple caves during Twisted League, but that doesn't even count. Trailblazer League, sorry. Um, but yeah, it's going to be impacted. One other thing I wanted to mention about head phase in chambers, I think. So the positive thing here is it's only the blowpipe that's getting nerfed. What's the place you use blowpipe at home where you like physically limited, like you can't leave the room on supplies? It's just the head phase, right? So although head phase is probably the place where you typically take the most damage, and that's not going to change either. You're just going to take a little bit more, right? Or a lot more, depending on how you look at it. It might force people for sure to have to do a couple more like raids to actually get down some of the methods, some of the the ways of actually doing it, particularly with a crossbow method, which I would argue is a little bit more tick reliant than just blowpiping across the screen.
Yeah, running
Sure.
run 2 tiles, blowpipe, run, blowpipe, run, blowpipe. It's a pretty easy. But there's also like methods like 7-0, and with the initial nerf that they suggested, they could have like 7-0 blowpipe could have been the thing that was the meta over, say, doing crossbow, which is just insane footwork. Like I never bothered with it because I got a GACB pretty early into it,
That's
and
nice.
I was able to get through the head phase with doing just the blowpipe hit and run back and forth stuff. But like I was saying before, it just made it harder. You were going to take longer to learn, and maybe people would have done the crossbow as an easier option and known that 7-0 blowpipe option is available. But the footwork on that is pretty insane.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
kinda
ACB will be meta now. Just as a note, with the most recent changes, ACB with Dragon Bolts is better,
for
but
sure.
blowpipe's better than RCB.
Oh,
For
okay.
reference.
I think TLDR on that for me, like definitely it will take a little bit longer, a couple more solos, I would say for sure, to like get the methods down and things like that. But at the end of the day, like once you learn it, you still, you'll be able to do it, I think. So does it really gatekeep it? I would say no. But does it slow it down and give a little bit more lengthy time to actually learn the content and place a greater importance on learning the methods of the content? Yes, I think that's one of the
Yeah.
things that will definitely come into play.
But even present day blowpipe, though, there's still people that try and get into solo chambers and just give up because they're so deterred from dying so many times.
For
And
sure.
like, while that's their own fault in not trying to stick out the content and learn it, I just think we're going to see a lot more of that deterrence from doing solos in the future because they feel like it's just not possible. They're never going to learn it and all that kind of thing. They're gonna stick to the team raids and never find the enjoyment that is solo chambers. Like literally the best content in the game, in my
Sorry,
opinion.
by enjoyment do you mean misery? But
Okay, next. Okay.
Oh God, do you remember the? I don't know if I think we all did mostly solos, but God, you guys team raids are equally miserable. It's miserable in a different way,
I actually
but
did
like
mostly
Yeah.
team raids. I did a lot of duos and like 2+2s, 3+3s was most of mine.
oh man, maybe you had a better experience. Like the few team raids I've done, it's always like, oh guys, mom's calling me for dinner.
Oh,
Or like,
okay.
oh my
You have to
internet's
be really
lagged. Or like,
selective of who you go with.
yeah, just
That's what I don't
yeah.
like. It's the bank standing, but also like the one example that I always give is like the people running around like chickens with their heads cut off in Tecton. I think everyone can relate to that. And then like Tecton just is going to aggro to someone. It's going to take like 2 steps off the anvil, or like they're going to be running around and it stops. And yeah, I've definitely had a pretty bad experience with team raids when I first started out in just like with randoms that I found through We Do Raids.
Oh
And that
man,
was like the driving
I'm so
force
sorry.
of me of me wanting to learn to solo is just like people, yeah, the bank standing and the people that don't like hop to a different world and start scouting for the team, and instead they just stand at the bank and wait for you to scout for one, and then that as well. It's just yeah. So I definitely have a bias towards solo raids because of my experience there. But like, I feel like most people will probably, efficiently speaking, be able to do more raids per hour because of those things. Even in a good team, I just like
In solos, you
the
mean?
like even with a good, yeah, solos is definitely more efficient. Even with a good team, just because of the availability to go, okay, I'm going to do a solo raid, not messaging all your friends, meeting up, waiting for them to gear. Oh, I'm on a herb run, whatever.
For sure.
Hmm.
I
I'm
agree.
going
I
through that
probably
all again with. the moment.
It sounds like I did have like the best time, but I think I strictly raided with friends. I never raided with randoms basically ever. And the couple
You
of
all-
people like I taught, I would consider myself a reasonably decent like Chambers teacher kind of thing. I taught. Shout out Zekin. I did like 200
Oh,
raids I think with him, like duos and 2+1s, 2+2 stuff like 2+1's like garbage scaling, but yeah. Anyways, typically the people who I would go with like knew what they were doing. If they didn't, I would just tell them, okay, you're gonna go to this tile and you're gonna sit here until I tell you to move.
Yeah.
And I would just like do all the skipping and work the head kind of thing, right? And they would just
Sure.
like sit on the other side until they kind of figured out what was actually going on. But
Yeah.
I digress.
Did you guys want to talk a bit about? I guess I was looking at our notes here. Did we want to talk about, I guess, the rest of the balancing changes outside of blowpipe
Yes.
before we move on?
Yes.
Dins and my black d'hide. Where?
Okay, I actually have gripe about the dins.
Where?
So first of all,
Alright,
I think I think it's really okay. So BC Guppy actually said this on the Sebe cast like this week, but so not to quote him too much, but he basically is essentially said by them nerfing the bulwark and putting a -25 magic defense on that. I don't know if you guys looked at the stats, but they're quite literally
I did, yeah.
making -25 magic on that thing.
Mhm.
Just for reference, before I go on off my rant, that is the equivalent. Kodai is +28 magic defense. Sorry, magic attack. That is equivalent almost of putting a Kodai, a negative Kodai, like on
everyone.
on it,
Oh,
or giving
yeah.
someone a Kodai, right? So
On a naked person.
that's
Every
huge.
naked person just got a
Just
Kodai when
got a
you're wearing a
Kodai.
din. Yeah.
Yeah. Plus
Jesus.
some more. So yeah, that just so you know, like kind of significance of it. They're also toning down some of the actual stats on it,
Melee
which
defense,
is
right?
which is actually the biggest issue for me personally. My issue mostly is the fact that it's not going to be usable in any defense PVM circumstances, which to be fair is actually only one I can think of, which is Arma. But it's no longer better than a crystal shield. So you're quite literally better off shield flicking. Like if you're gonna go T-bow Arma, yeah, you're better off shield flicking with a crystal shield than a bulwark, which is kind of insane if you think about it. Like you're by doing this nerf, you're essentially admitting, and this is what BC Guppy said. He said Jagex is essentially admitting that a two-handed metal door shield was a mistake. Like and I know it's mostly the PvPers who are like,
that don't like it. Yeah,
sure.
but it does affect other places in the game, definitely.
So
yeah.
my actually proposed thing, and I might like whine a little bit on Twitter about it, is to kind of say, okay, these changes, sure, they can like take place in PvP. Do I personally think they're needed? No, but like if the rest of the community / Jagex thinks they're needed changes, like whatever, just
Like,
don't do it in PVM, man. Like just do it in PvP. That's my opinion, though. What do you guys think on the dins?
I mean, I agree with almost everything. I don't know if I agree at the end. I don't know if I like. I hate the idea of PVM versus PvP splits.
items
in terms
being
of balance.
different. Yeah.
I think I don't like it. I think just generally my taste for it is that it's bad for the game. It's ugly in terms of game balance. But at the same time,
It already exists with the blowpipe. Interestingly enough,
I
you can't
think
use 2-tick blowpipe in PvP.
Jagex seems to struggle enough already with game balance, though, and if that's the direction they have to go because that's the way they feel they need to balance, then I'd rather that than them just admitting that they can't balance an item. Because I think all I read this update as is, I mean, I have the dins, right? I guess I used it at Arma. I'm probably going to switch to using
I don't actually. That's my opinion without a dins.
Oh, you don't have? Okay.
I actually don't have it.
I just read this bug as them saying we don't know what this item is. Like we thought it was going to have a place in the game and it doesn't, and we're removing it. Like I mean that's really what they're doing, right? Like this item is not going to have a use anymore.
Well, isn't their excuse though that they want to respect the combat triangle? So like, hey, it's good for melee and range, but because of that, it shouldn't be good for magic. Like,
but they also nerfed the range and the melee stats.
Range is the
so
same.
explain that.
Yeah, they did, but like the reasoning behind the negative magic is the combat triangle. But it's like, okay,
I can
that's
ultimately
happening because of PvPers. But if PVMers want to make the same excuse, hey, PvPers will range us in their torso and their barrows, legs. Like, where's the negative, like the massive negative range attack accuracy on melee items? Because that doesn't respect the combat triangle, does it?
Yeah, I think the combat triangle argument is
like the combat triangle shouldn't be an argument. I don't think, because, well, it is an argument, but like it goes both ways.
No, it does. When I look at Dins, I think Jagex released it thinking that they were going to build a place for a tank exclusive item like that into the game,
which they haven't,
and they never did. Players found a couple niche uses for. I mean, I guess the PvP thing is kind of its own. I'm not familiar enough with it to comment on the balance in PvP. People found like shield flicking at God Wars. People found ribbon chambers. I don't think that's what Jagex intended for it, and I think I'm kind of sad to see it lose that value. But at the same time, like it just sucks that like a fairly rare item from endgame content is just Jagex saying this is gone for now. Maybe they just need to completely rework it in the future. Like more like even if they didn't remove the stats from this, like I don't think it actually had a place, right? Like it was still, I'd say, almost a failure of a release.
Yeah, on that one particularly. Like the only use now is Slayer, like using it for like neck working or diagonals.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
So technically it still does have a use, sure, but like again, was that actually an intended use? No. Like no, that was absolutely not an intended use to be able to kill Dagonoths with your bulwark.
Do you think Jagex knows that people do that? Like seriously, do you think how many of the content devs do you think know people do that?
Actually, I don't know.
I think like out of most games, Jagex are really in touch with what people are doing, especially thanks to Fat Clouds. I think a few JMods would be in his stream and see the kind of things that he does in Slayer, and he does Dinny B Dags. So I think they would know for sure.
Especially
I guess
with Husky and Arcane on like the Ironmen on the team too. I think they're more in tune with the metas. Again, I don't know if they know like every single specific efficient method for like Tunable Slayer or every item, including the Dins, but I don't know. If
maybe
anybody,
they should
for sure be the ones.
Maybe they should join the Ironman skilling Discord. Check out what we're all up to.
Just get all the alt methods removed.
No longer. Okay, I retract that statement.
Not gonna be able to light a fire in the Karam house anymore.
Just have to take one step outside every time. Misery.
Oh, imagine, yeah.
Isn't there a fire like in the middle of that village?
Can you cook on that?
Or
I've never tried.
Is it south? It's south of it, isn't it? It's at the charred like remains south of the village, not actually in the village.
I'm honestly not positive.
Pretty sure I'm right about that.
It does ring a bell that there being a fire around there, but I can't quite picture it. There is a bunch of charred shit south of the village, though. I know that for a fact.
I think that's where the fire is, and it's not actually in the village. But
okay.
Yeah. Another thing I've been reading, going back to the reworks, is should God D'hide be different to Black D'hide? So keep God D'hide the same as Black D'hide today, and then this nerf just be to the Black D'hide red and blue and green. I agree with that personally, because if you are in the wilderness and you're wearing that, then I think PvP is like that, because they're all pretty expensive. But then if they're on the same level as Black D'Hide, which they are right now, there's no reason to go and wear those out in PvP. So that's taking value away from the PvP. So I would think that's a win for both, both PVMers and PvPers. It's like, okay, you get to keep the defense bonuses if you're wearing the God D'Hide, which is more expensive. But then if you lose that, then it's a bigger loss for you and it's a bigger win for the PvPers because they're more valuable. I think everyone wins by keeping the stats of just the God D'Hide as they are today and only nerfing the ones that you can craft.
I was just looking it up for reference. It looks like even the ones that aren't useful in God Wars are around like 200k a piece.
Yeah, exactly.
Other than the VAMs. The VAMs are cheap, but that's its own thing.
So PVMers see that as a bonus in the wilderness because it's got that extra defense, I guess. And then PvPs just seem more valuable in killing someone that's wearing that, I guess.
Like the main issue for Black D'Hide was specifically because it was so cheap, right? Like,
yeah, that's right.
You can wear like a 10k geared setup essentially with the top and the bottom and have like so much mage defense. That was the issue.
Yeah, that's the issue, exactly. And nerfing it, I guess it doesn't change its value. If anything, it's not going to make it less valuable because of high alc. I don't know what its price is compared to the high alc value, but
it's alc value.
It's not going to change anything for how much of value, like a PvP player places value upon killing someone. Like they're going to be able to catch more freezes, which is ultimately what they want. But there's no change in value of if they kill you or not. It's just that they did get to kill you.
I haven't heard that before, actually. That's actually, I kind of like that. Like, surprisingly like that.
I definitely would be in favor of the God D'Hide keeping his stats. I think I see kind of two separate arguments against the Black D'Hide nerf. I see on one hand people saying that it's not actually overpowered. It fits comfortably within like PvP balance. And on the other hand, I see people who just in a vacuum have an issue with Jagex nerfing content that's been in the game forever. Which I don't think either are invalid. I personally don't put a lot of weight in the idea of that just because something has been in the game for a long time that makes it balanced or the Jagex shouldn't be able to touch it. Because ultimately, players shape the metas, and if something is strong in the meta and it doesn't seem to fit any kind of risk versus reward balance, and Jagex wants to change that, I don't really have an issue with that. I don't know if I actually think Black D'Hide is too strong. I mean, it's definitely, for its price, extremely strong, but I would have liked them to just nerf probably the melee and range defense of it and leave the magic defense. I think for tier 70 gear, the magic defense it gave was okay. Just because it was cheap, I think that, like, Black D'Hide along with so much other stuff is tied to alc value. And that's the reason why so much content is tied to alc value is a completely different discussion about Jagex's dumping of raw resources into the game.
The other argument that I've seen is like some PvPers don't think the change in the magic defense is enough, and they just want a rework of magic accuracy as a whole because it's 70% magic level and 30% defense level.
Correct.
So they want that changed. Essentially, I don't know what it would be, but they want that changed as well. Like they're not happy with just Black D'Hide being nerfed. They also want to see that changed.
I mean, it's definitely true that if you're just naked in the wilderness right now and you throw an augury, your defense against magic is way higher than it is.
Augury is so powerful, yeah.
Yeah, if you're naked versus praying piety versus melee, like you have so much magic defense just built in. I guess I don't know if I'd really have a problem with that being reworked. It's kind of true. I mean, I've done like a bit of Black Gins, like with a good magic defense setup. You're like actually invincible.
Yeah.
Like, you're just like not paying attention. You get claw rushed. Like you actually are just going to tank whatever. Like I don't know. Like I try to sympathize with them too, right? Even though it's not how I play the game, and like I can see how that's frustrating, especially if you have to be a solo PKer. Like if you can't have somebody else TB for you, and then you're on freezes. Like, if you're on normal spellbook, like, what are you actually gonna do to a person in good tank gear? Like, you're not doing shit.
How many times I saw even a video today? I think was it Dreamy? I think it was Dreamy who tweeted today just of a picture of him like
I saw that.
doing chins, and some guy came up, bolted him twice, and then ran away and logged out.
And then just gave up. It was beautiful, yeah.
He just goes back to hunting.
Yeah, I mean, Black Chin's is a shit show in itself.
And like all he did was just change his prayer. But like meanwhile, he was taking those bolts and he was just still trying to pick up his box trap that was on the ground. Like he just basically just went like, "What? Like you're tickling my back?" Or
That's great. Juke, question for you: do you actually have the stats in front of you? How much they're like? What magic defense they're changing?
Let me pull it up
to
real
what?
quick. I can find it.
Because I don't know off the top of my head how much magic defense Black had either. Be curious to know like how much they're changing.
The 21st. This would be the most recent one, right?
Yeah.
So Black D'hide body is going from 55, 47, 60 for the melees to 30, 35, 35. So losing like 40%.
Of
Magic melee, yes. Magic defense is going from 50 to 45, so almost no change. Range is going from 55 to 50, almost no change. Looks like roughly that ratio holds true for chaps, just with different values, of course.
That's actually less than I thought.
I'm surprised they're mostly removing the melee defense.
Yeah, same.
But at the same time, like I guess it fits. Like they keep trying to come back to the combat triangle as a justification. So they say it should be good against magic. But if anything, I see the problem with Black D'hide being that you're like Black D'hide augury. You're risking nothing. You're like invincible to magic.
I actually thought they were gonna brutalize the magic defense. Like that's what I thought. I didn't actually look at the numbers on that one specifically. I was mostly
I mean,
on the blowpipe.
Thankfully, with the range and magic defense being kept mostly intact, it's still good for God Wars when you're ranging before you have Arma, because you're not usually tanking melee. So it's not going to like fuck over mid-level players doing God Wars.
No.
But yeah, I mean, I guess it incentivizes you to bring like actual melee defense switch for when you're frozen. Like, is this actually going to change anything?
No.
Like, I'm just trying to think,
still
like,
wearing Black D'hide. Like what?
Yeah,
like that's my point about the God D'hide staying the same. Everyone's still gonna go out wearing their Black D'hide. They're just gonna, freeze you more often. But like, I don't know, how often has it been down to the wire? Like we've all seen those videos where someone's got like, no brews in their inventory and they got out. But like, how often does that actually happen? Like I know when I've been doing wilderness prayer or whatever, I've still got like, 10 brews in my inventory and I've run all the way down to 30 and teleported out, or I've started hitting an Anku and X-logged. Like it literally doesn't change anything.
No.
Yeah, I mean, like your best. I'm just trying to think, like, even if you're in good gear now too, right? Which is like Staff of the Dead, ACP, either Spirit or either Spectral or Ellie, and then Serp or Crystal Helm. Like, and you're wearing Black D'hide chaps. Like, you already bring like Dragon Legs or Torag's Legs as just switch for when you're frozen. It's like it's literally going to be exactly the same. Like, because the magic defense is the same. Like, I don't know. I think they're completely missing the mark. I think they're just like throwing this one at like PvPers, like, okay, shut up at us on Twitter. Like, look, we nerfed it. Like, I don't see. I mean, I completely agree with Bubbsy. Like, who are they going to be able to kill now that they couldn't before? Like,
there's going to be a few rare circumstances where like people run out of brews and die, yes, but most of the time, what are you doing in the wilderness where you're not carrying a stupid amount of brews on you? Like seriously.
Yeah. I mean, they need. I've seen them I've seen them mention a couple times that 2021 is the year they really want to take like a serious look at PvP balance. I think it's a very good idea, but I think this is. I don't know. I don't think this blog isn't doing anything for PvP.
Yeah. I think the only other thing left on the list of nerfs is the face guard.
Keep your hands off my +4 prayer on the Tebow.
Wait.
Jacket.
Oh, okay. That was a funny one for me because I didn't even know that was a thing.
No, it never should have been. Like, what? I'm so curious what the justification was. Like, somebody was like, "This thing might not be very good without this."
Oh, dude, you can't wear your book. You can't wear your Zami book with it. We might as well like give it a free Zami book, you know?
Like, I'm pretty sure it's not even like twisted items have prayer. Like, I'm pretty sure buckler is 0 prayer.
Yeah.
I'm almost certain. Like, why bow? Yeah,
Uh,
bow.
quick.
What do you guys think about the level changes?
I'm supportive of it. I don't really have an opinion of it though. It's kind of like
I think
Yeah.
sure.
I mean,
I don't
I
know.
kind of agree. I think it's whatever.
Buckler's no prep bonus, by the way. Just had a look.
Okay, yeah. Like,
Level changes. I don't think that really affects anyone. Maybe some very specific PvP accounts, but the reason why they're doing that, from my understanding, is just to like actually show in the book of attack what is better, and in the like when you open up your magic, what is that even called? Your skills
Skill
list,
guide.
and you open up your skill guide. Thank you. Like what armor, what weapons are better than one another, and I think that's a really healthy change. But like if they're gonna do that, look at smithing. Like I know that's old school and that's a controversial thing to say, but smithing question mark. Like you can make a dragon plate body at like 85 or something, but for a rune plate body, 99.
yeah, I mean, I'm looking. I get attack is definitely the worst defender. I have it open right now. So you have all your level 70 stuff. Which
How
is
many
like
can you
Pharaoh,
count?
the
How many
weapon.
70s? Like
Let's go through it. So 70. We have crystal weapons, Sarah sword, Zami spear, lance, extension of the spear, whip, bludgeon, arm staff, Darok's axe, Darok's hammer, Varrock's flail, Guthan's war spear, Avernic defender. Then we go to 75, and we have Arclight, God Sword, Staff of the Dead, Staff of Light, Staff of Balance, Abyssal Tentacle, Rapier, Mace, Blessed Sarah Sword, Scythe of Vitur, Elder Maul,
Yes.
Din's Bulwark, Blade of Saildor, Vestus, Blade of Longsword. So like if I was looking at
Holy
this,
fuck.
I'd be like, oh, the difference between Torag's hammer and Scythe of Vitur is 5 attack levels. Like they're almost the same tier.
Almost the
No,
same. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
I mean, I completely agree. I don't think their goal is like to make it like, oh, fuck, my 75 attack account can't use Scythe anymore. It's just if they think this is more informative about the relative strength of the weapon, then sure, go ahead.
Yeah, for sure. I think that's all it is. And it's so when they make future weapons, they can slot those in between weapons or at the same to say that, hey, we designed this weapon to be exactly the same as the rapier, but better at these monsters, for instance, and put it on the skill guide, and it actually makes sense. Not just have everything at 75, bang, and here's a shit ton of weapons. I think that's a good change. Yeah, for sure.
I think that's probably about it for this.
Let me just also mention. You said the face guard. That's not getting changed.
Yeah.
They reverted.
They reverted it.
Yeah. It is definitely interesting that they decided to. Well, first of all, before going into that, I don't know what your opinions were on the one strength bonus from that weapon, but like it's not just the strength bonus and the prayer and the defense that it gives or whatever, but what they're taking into consideration there is also the content that it comes from and that you can get it at such a low slayer level, and they've included that information in the blog. So they're going to say we're going to make the monsters easier, then as a result, and because they're at such a low slayer level, but because of that we're going to take away that one strength bonus, which to most players it doesn't make a difference, but to the high-end PVM gang where it does give them that extra one max hit, it's absolutely massive. So like, yeah, what was your thoughts on that?
I'll say my only opinion on the balance of the face guard is that whoever made that meme that compared the +1 strength bonus of face guard to the cannon that blew up on Reddit is actually dumb as a brick. That's like my only opinion on the
I never
balance
saw
of the
that.
face. Yeah, somebody's like, well, Like, how can +1 strength bonus on face guard be OP if you can use a cannon at level 3 and hit 30s?
Oh,
What?
oh man.
That shit pissed me off. That was my only opinion. I'll let you go, Luke.
Holy shit, that's so funny. I don't know. My only opinion is like that face guard is just like, why does it have no negative stats and why does it have like +3 prayer? There's just like no downside of wearing it. I don't know.
There's no downside. That's the thing. Like, it took something away from the game, which was the Serp helms. Like, people
You mean the
are still
anti-poison
going
helm?
to, yeah, the anti-poison helm, and like those are really like. There's still people that obviously get the mutagens and that kind of thing, but that was like a really cool part of the game, in my opinion. Like, if you had the blue helm, if you're a red helm gang, you know, there was just always a bit of banter about that one, like which one you had, or if you had both and you were just an absolute baller. And now you just, unless you're like a UIM, you just pre-pot an anti-venom wherever you're going and use the face guard. So it took something away from the game, definitely. But like at the same time, as a PVM, I'm happy to see that strength come back.
Yeah.
I don't know. But like, if I were to release that content today, I would say probably the helm is okay. Maybe a negative bonus, I'm not sure. But increase the Slayer level of Basilisk. That they don't belong at whatever like 60 something Slayer level requirement they are now.
Yeah.
That, like, if you compare the difficulty of killing Basilisk to like Dark Beast and the Slayer level, like, this is so much harder to kill than Dark Beast, like ridiculously harder. And just remove the range safe spots from that room. That's just stupid. Make people go in with a crush weapon, vengeance, or like bones to peaches, so they can stay there for longer, and keep them as the same as they are right now. Maybe get rid of the freezing mechanic though. That sucks. That's just boring.
Yeah, I actually think those are like a worse version of shamans. They're actually just like a shit NPC that are just miserable to kill.
Yeah, definitely. But it's an item that you do want to main if you want some GP, and it's an item that you only have to get once on your Ironman. And I think that's a fair thing for the Dragon Warhammer and for the face guard.
Yeah, you guys touched on it there. Best in slot PVM items coming from mid-level non-boss content, I think, is in itself stupid. They make shamans and basilisk knights like dog shit, boring to do. You know what the worst offender is of that though? Is not those two. It's fucking revenants. Why do revenants drop best in slot weapons? Like, I get the idea they were trying to create risky content to do in the wilderness, but like the idea that you have to go like AFK slap these ghosts for 100 hours to like get your best in slot weapon, like what are you doing?
Now, red weapons, even if you are going to go for all wilderness pets, it's not worth going for the weapons.
Yeah,
like, I think that single fact right there is just insane. Like, time investment for the weapon is not worth the go for, even if you're going for all wilderness pets.
It's also really sad to say that, because the actual DPS increase is wild, dude. Have you?
Yeah,
do
it's like
either of you
50%.
have a mace, like a vigorous chain mace?
I mean, I have the Tharamon Scepter, so I know a thing or two about high DPS wielding weapons.
Anyways, so back when I did have a chain mace before I may or may not have lost it, dude, that thing fucking spanks. I was hitting like 73s on Vedion. 73s with a 4-tick weapon. What? And now that I again may or may not have it, like, dude, I'm actually gonna be bludgeoning this thing for the pet. Like, talk about misery.
Or maybe shooting it with your twisted bow.
Anyways, but yeah, just the fact that it's so surprising that with the actual increase that you get from a wilderness weapon is still not even relevant.
I really hope they address that. I've kind of been putting off like wildy content in general. I kind of want Ring of the Gods for Inferno now, but like surely they're gonna address it, right? Like, do they want Revstos to be dead weapon or like dead content completely? That's what it is right now. Like, I tried it a little bit. Doing the world hop shit, it's miserable.
It is miserable, yeah.
I hate it.
Dude, stop putting in like world hopping methods. They're actually misery. Like I don't know what else to say, but misery is just.
Oh yeah, we had Shopscape on the list, didn't we?
Yeah.
No.
I feel like it's not an Ironman ramble if you don't bitch a little bit about Shopscape.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, just so we switched. We've been like talking about equipment balance for like an hour and a half almost. Let's swap it up actually, and since we're on the topic and of bitching and moaning, let's talk about whining in the community and whining Ironman specifically.
How exactly do you want to frame this?
So I actually want to talk about like, are you guilty personally of like bitching and whining just because you're an Ironman, or do you think it comes with the territory of being passionate about the game, or do you just think everyone else's bitching and whining is worse than yours?
I don't think I bitch and whine a lot.
I hope I don't.
Yeah.
I need somebody like to do like an external look at this and tell me if I do or not.
We need a third party.
It's hard to judge yourself on that kind of thing because most people aren't gonna just put their hand up and go, "Yeah, I'm a little bitch that whines about this game that I play every single day." I definitely don't have any tweets at mods like a lot of people do saying, "Wah, change this." But I don't know. It's kind of second nature. I see a lot of it, and it just kind of goes in one ear and out the other. It just doesn't really bother me. And I also just avoid Reddit, where most of that is these days. I think like a lot of it is the people who are Ironmen who just shouldn't be Ironmen. I think that's a lot of the whinging that I probably see. But I'm not sure what do you guys?
I do kind of agree with that. You do see a lot of before I like flame other people. I will like confess for sure. Like I think part of like the whining is just being opinionated and having opinion. Like people for sure will say, "Oh, like quit whining, quit like moaning about like whatever."
There's definitely a difference between passion and whinging about something. Yeah.
For sure, yeah. Like we're having an ongoing discussion. We're having general dialogue on like these updates, and what our thoughts are and stuff on them, right? Like there's plenty of people who like don't want to voice their opinions, right? And that's fair as well. But there's also plenty of people who just like incessantly. I think the word cry is actually overused in the community, but just I don't know, for lack of a better word, like crying and whining incessantly about their things that they're gonna lose due to nerfs, or do the things that they have to do to do something in the game. For example,
I think Olympus as a whole, our clan has actually whined more about things being too easy, whereas everyone else, their typical whining is wanting to make things more easy. Like an example of that one, which we had a fairly big hand in, was the sand grinder. I come into it kind of late, but I remember hearing about it, and you guys like made spreadsheets and spreadsheets and spreadsheets of like what the numbers should be, the effective rates, how the mining XP is actually worth something. It's not actually just faster buckets per hour compared to manually filling them up, which used to be the meta. It's the fact that that mining XP that you're getting, as well as the increased buckets per hour, is actually worth something. And then they took all that information in and then just didn't listen to it.
Mm-hmm.
So like as a whole, I think we whine about making things easier, but everywhere else, like I said, players who are irons who just shouldn't be whine in the opposite direction.
Yeah. Juke, I have a question for you actually. do you think in general, like I think it's a pretty well-known fact that JMods and people who actually work at Jagex get like actually a lot of flame and like hate from it, from
It's
people.
horrible.
Do you think it would be like if you were in their position, for example, do you think it would be like actually really hard to like focus on having kind of an objective opinion when you have people whining and crying and actually quite literally flaming you in a like vulgar manner probably a lot of the time?
That's difficult to say. I know it's like a non-answer. I think it's difficult to say because I've never been in the position where I've had to deal with a large amount of like external criticism in a work capacity. I think it would probably be tough at first. I have to imagine at this point that Jagex work culture has to have built up some kind of like
Like
collective,
expectation.
well, like just like some kind of like you're new here, like don't worry too much about what those like dumb fucks on Reddit are saying this week. Like that doesn't matter. Like I mean, I've worked places before where like people are like we get like negative criticism back from like a client or a customer or something, and there people are like, oh, like don't worry about that. Like that's just what it is, and like and that definitely helps. I have to imagine the JMods have developed stuff like that, right? Like
Yeah,
they
yeah, we've
can't.
all had that manager that of just being like, "Oh, don't worry about that idiot customer." Like they complain every single time, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or there's the opposite side of that where the manager will flame you after the customer just keep finished flaming you.
What
And I very much doubt Jagex work culture is like that.
Yeah, like I look at like at least the mods who I really respect on the team, like the amount of like stupid like bullshit interactions they have to deal with people who play the game is high. But I also can tell they're good at picking out what is legitimate criticism.
Yeah.
Like they're not completely like they don't just say like, oh, I know best, like you guys should just shut up, like I'm not listening to any of this. But at the same time, they don't really engage with somebody who's just flaming for the sake of
for the
it.
sake of flaming, yeah.
Yeah, who's like, oh, this is different. I hate this. I hate you. Like I don't know. I think
Yeah, I think
it's tough to
part's
say.
good, but there's the other side of that where those idiots also get to vote on our polls. Like it's like
Sure.
talking about it's like talking about politics. Like this person votes for the prime minister in Australia or the president. Like it's the
Yeah.
same thing in this game that we love. It's like the person who posted that cannon thing comparing it to the face guard. They vote in polls, man. Like,
Yeah. You know they vote too. They don't
Oh, for
forget. They
sure.
don't
Yeah.
forget.
oh yeah. If they're posting that on Reddit, they definitely see a new poll come up, and yeah, they're putting their opinion in.
They take time out of the 30 minutes they spend a day, on the game to go to go
30 minutes per day.
I will say this though. I think as much as the community at large like likes to paint this community as being like anti-update, like we hate anything new, wah wah wah. Like I don't think that the JMods struggle to get new content introduced to the game. So like I don't.
Are you talking about like Olympus, like the Ironman?
No. Just like in general. Like if I was like to go read, like I don't do it often these days, thankfully. But if I was to go read like any like proposed like quality of life poll, like I was to read the comments on Reddit, it's gonna be like, oh, stupid elitist high level people like don't want to vote for this. They don't want to see the game get easier for people. Like as much as that seems to be like a pervasive opinion with some people, most stuff gets added to the game, right? Like I don't think
Oh,
the
yeah.
JMods aren't really fighting with us to add stuff to the game. I think the game is following the direction they have for it. Stuff fails from time to time, and they'll tweak stuff based on feedback. But I don't see the
Yeah.
community as like really holding the game back from developing.
No.
I did
But
want to touch. I want to touch a
this
little
is
bit on. Oh, go ahead, Bubs.
it's a discussion about the polling system in itself. That though, but like how you said they don't struggle to put things into the game. It's like they don't struggle because they word the question the way they want to word it, and as well as that is if something fails that they want in the game, how many times have they just changed it a little bit to push it over that mark and get that 75% yes vote because they inherently actually have the control of what goes into the game. I think the polling system is kind of, I guess I'll just say fake.
Oh, I completely agree.
So
Yeah, I mean,
can I toss my 2 cents on that last part before
Hmm.
I think
yeah,
you wanted to go into a different topic, Juke. Um,
yeah. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
but so two things actually, just regarding like the JMod rather comment. So I actually have worked in an environment like that where you actually take a lot of abuse. I was actually not actively, just kind of during COVID right now, but before, and once COVID clears up, I was a referee for hockey. So
Oh, okay.
that is like by nature like probably one of the places that you take like the most abuse from people in a work
Yeah.
setting. So I'm actually like have a little bit of that experience, and I kind of know what it's like. To definitely a different degree. It's people flaming you like to your face. It's like
Hmm.
coach,
Yeah.
right? As opposed to like people just like typing mean words about you online, right?
Right.
So
Hmm.
it's definitely different in that way, but I can kind of relate to some extent. And you do start to develop like I don't know if it's a professionalism or just your own personal like behavior and kind of like thick skin. Um, but at the same time, you know what's going to happen, especially once you start going it, and you don't go into something with a community like Jagex, for example, without, I think, expecting it. The other part of what I wanted to just comment on was the fact that by having you know how Jagex always kind of takes pride in and regularly says on their Q&As, oh, I think we have like one of the most um, engaging or one of the games like where we actually engage with the players the most, right? We have the most interaction with the players, when it comes to our games, in terms of like weekly Q&As, in terms of frequent blog posts, all that sort of stuff, and interaction on Twitter, all that, right? But I think by having those couple things, you naturally invite the opposite end of things, where people will take advantage of that more open flow of communication and uh, whine or flame people kind of thing, and voice their possibly shitty opinions, right?
No, that actually does make a lot of sense.
Yeah.
I guess yeah, you definitely have a better way of looking at that than I do. So I
Yeah.
was not familiar with that. I wanted to touch on real briefly, kind of like your the initial question you asked, like how do I feel about people complaining? I think I guess when I think Iron Man complaining, I think so many different things at the same time. I think I think on like the kind of the PVM side for Iron Man mode is so linear, and especially for people who are like in the mid game stage or like maybe just starting to reach end game. Like if you've played a lot of different games before you've played RuneScape, and you're at the point now like where you need to get like your Dragon Warhammer, say for instance, and you're like 2 times rate or 3 times rate, and you're just like, this fucking sucks. Like I've been
Mm.
doing the same stupid content for 80 hours and I hate it. I hate RNG. I'm like, should I submit a bug report? Like is my account bugged? Like what's going on? I don't know. Like I think we all kind of laugh at those people, right? Like it's like, oh, like look at this idiot saying this. Like he's 50
Comment,
hours
talk
dry.
to OSRS and move on.
But like I
That
kind of
old Reddit.
yeah, like I try to I kind of get where that's coming from at the same time though, right? Like you're like I don't know, maybe you haven't spent like played a really grindy game like this
Not
before.
OCR, I mean, sorry.
You're playing an Iron Man, you're used to just buying shit on the Grand Exchange, you're now dry on whatever item, so like fine. And then like kind of on the skilling side, like this is maybe if anything where I'm more guilty. I hope I don't do it a lot. I don't feel like I do. But Iron Man mode is so much more like it's impacted exponentially by game balance changes, where
Yeah.
small updates, like say they change the Vorkath table, they nerf that. Like if I'm a main, it's like, oh shit, I can't I can't kill Vorkath for 2.5 mil an hour anymore. I'm gonna go kill whatever. I'm gonna go
There's
kill
other
Zor. I'm gonna kill Zor
opportunities
now because
around it. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, oh, I'm doing something different this week to make money. But if you're on Iron Man, you're like, oh, like I just lost 1,300 hours if I'm going for 200 mil prayer, or if I'm now 1.5 bill short on my
Yeah.
biomes goal or something, and you're like, oh, like I think that the degree to that people are impacted by some of these changes, especially who have really long term goals, like in a vacuum, it's like, oh, like look at this stupid guy, he's complaining because the game got balanced. But I get it, right? Like I really do. I mean, you can get just completely fucked over by an update as an Iron Man in a way that you really can't as a main.
Hmm.
Like mains,
Mhm.
especially skillers, can get changed. Like you can get hurt by something. Like I think Sepulcher, like right. I mean Sepulcher cut.
Devaluing for sure, right?
Yeah, Sepulcher can devalue something, but I think you don't really get it in the other way that Ironman can get it. Where this is like, oh, this is going to take longer now.
Yeah.
And I'm now behind
Mhm.
everybody who did it first. Like it kind of is the same thing. Like gaining time and losing time by an update can impact different people in different directions. I get that. But I think the
Yeah.
frustration you feel from, so especially something getting worse as an Iron Man, when other people have already taken advantage of it, it's different.
Yeah, it's a very daunting feeling. Like we had it on our list of the feeling of the race against time. Like I know when that
Yeah, let's talk about that.
Vorkar nerf comment was put on Reddit. Like I think it was just like that one small comment from like Husky or something like 6 or 8 months ago now about them looking at changing the Vorkar table. We've had like 5 different individual questions on the skilling methods Discord because of that. Like people saying like, oh, what's the next best option for this and that, and it really makes a ripple when they talk about something so impactful as changing broadcast. So you're definitely right there. Like, yeah, people will flame us for whinging about things, but they don't realize when you have those long-term goals, how impactful it can actually be.
Yeah, no, for sure. For sure. I
Have
wanted to
you-
say one last
ahead.
thing too, real quick,
Go ahead.
Luke. I want to say people the other kind of whining that I do really hate, that, and this is kind of even extends beyond the Iron Man community. If you complain about the general tide this game is moving in when it's been apparent for 5 years, like actually just shut up at some point, right? Where if you're like, oh, this game's getting more and more quality of life, like, oh, is another thing this week? Time to go complain about it. And it's like this has been apparent for 5 years. Like, just at some point, just move on. I feel like there are people
Old
who,
school. When's old school RuneScape coming
yeah,
out?
like some people who complain like using the same language about every update week in week out. Like, first of all, that has to just be bad for you as a person, right?
Do
Like
you
just
play?
having that
Do
egg.
these people actually play?
I don't know. Like, I don't know. Do they actually log in, or do they just stick around to like complain about updates? I genuinely don't know. Like, are you just that full of negativity all the time? You're just like looking for something to complain about. Like, it's almost mind-boggling to me. I see those people and like I can't help but laugh, but at the same time, I feel a little bit sorry for them when I
You
just
see
see
a lot
them.
of backpedaling on Reddit of those people that will say something like that, and they'll be like, "Oh, I haven't played in 2 years, so like I don't really know."
That was the last thing I wanted to say about the whiners. Like, if you're one of those people, like if this rings true for anybody listening to this, like just like actually take a look at the way you think about things in life. Like you might have an issue.
Yeah. No, it's true. Just like, I don't know, don't take it so seriously, or like at the end of the game, at the end of the day, it is like a game to some degree. Like you're supposed to have fun playing it. You know, you can be
Yeah.
passionate. And that's kind of what we were talking about like earlier. Sure, there's a difference between being passionate, but like just incessantly whining with the same like agenda kind of thing.
Yeah.
Grow up.
And
big
the R&D grind one especially kind of goes back to my point on there's a lot of people that play Iron Man who shouldn't be Iron Men. But like when they do finally get that drop, they go, "Oh, it was all worth it. It felt so good to get that Dragon Warhammer." You know, that is Iron Man. You've got to go get your own drops, and it feels really good when you get it. So don't whine about the grind. Like it's fine to just say, like, oh, I'm going ridiculously dry here. I'm at this percentage of that, and like look at stats and treat it as like a bit of a joke about like how unlucky you've been. But the whinging and the whining of the content that it's so bad, like play any other game, do the same thing for that many hours, and of course it's going to be bad. You're choosing that you want that item. You're choosing that you're potentially going to spend that many hours doing it. So get over it, get the drop, and when you get it, you'll be happy. That is Ironman mode.
Do you think it's like you actually learn how to deal with like things like that? Like how to go through that process of like just wanting to like whine and cry and like scream and kick due to like being frustrated like that? Do you think like Iron Man kind of teaches you like a little bit how to deal with that?
Definitely. I went insanely dry for a BCP, and I think it was like 1,400 and something kills for a BCP. And during that time, I got like 3 tassets, 6 hilts, and 9 boots. And every single time, like the first 3 times I got the boots, I was like pissed off. But every other time after that, I just laughed. It's the same drop rate, but you just see the boots on the floor and you're like, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
I think this game does teach you, especially Ironman
So-
mode, but I think the game at
Yeah.
large, it teaches you like about like delayed enjoyment so well, and
Yeah.
like the idea of like trying to explain to somebody who hasn't played like this, or even like I'm sure there are other like similarly grindy games out there, where being like oh, I just spent 150 hours doing this thing. I hated it, but I got the job done for it. And they're like, oh, like you weren't having fun? Like why would you do that to yourself? Like what was the point? And I legitimately can't say if that's a good thing, right? Like maybe I am truly wasting my time playing this game, and like that very well could be the case. And like I can't say like, oh, like I'm better than these people. Look, I put myself through 150 hours of this shitty boss, not enjoying it, but I have this item now and it's worth. So I don't know. Who's to say? But I definitely have developed the ability to put myself through something that's unenjoyable, and kind of like found ways to not deal with, or like not just constantly have the thought being, oh, this isn't fun, right? Like kind of just yeah, this is what it is. I'm doing this. I'm going to do it for this long. I don't know. I feel like you get better at that the more you play Ironman mode.
Mhm.
I'm kind of
Yeah,
glad that I've
definitely.
gotten to a
Definitely,
point
yeah.
of acceptance.
Try telling that, everyone's learned the same way when there's people who gotten, 1 KC Hydro Claws and then 10k KC Hydro Claws, right?
Yeah.
This is an example, but everyone has their own like RNG. Everyone goes through their own actual journeys in the game and stuff like that. But you all learn at
For
different
sure.
paces, right? Even the people who
Yeah.
go super lucky, like at the end of the day, like they've still put a lot of hours into their account. They've still progressed and done.
Yeah, and those
things
like
that you can do.
individual journeys are like cool little stories to tell, like for people that went insanely dry on an item. Like that's part of their story that they'll tell someone when it's like you learn, like an IRL mate plays the game as well. It's like, oh, you play as well. Like, oh yeah, remember when I used to play that or whatever. It's like it's just part of your story now. It's like the struggle that you went through to get something, even though you hated every single minute of it. It
Yeah.
was all worth it in the end, and it become like part of something that you look back on with fond memories, even though you may have hated it every single second of it. Like a good example of that is Settled's recent video of his journey for the Dragon Warhammer. I'm not sure if you guys watched that,
Was that the
but that's a
7,000 hours video?
yeah, that one.
Actually, I
That's a
haven't watched
perfect
that yet.
example. That's a perfect example of a video to kind of go and understand the feelings that someone goes through when they're insanely dry on something.
I haven't watched that. I might need to.
I have a
What?
bunch
So
of
he
videos on like my YouTube backlog that I'm kind of slowly
It-
going through.
He's a really good storyteller.
Yeah, almost unrelated, but I wouldn't mind getting some recommendations from you guys on RS YouTubers. I feel like I don't watch any RS content on YouTube like whatsoever these days.
Really? Okay.
Is there like any good shit out there? These like I was starting to get burnt out of like some of the larger ones I was watching. I just found it kind of whatever. Is there like smaller stuff out there that you guys like that you want to shout out?
There's like this really kind of, I guess, no name guy that I kind of recently started watching. He does like kind of a similar like ramble podcast. His name's Sebe. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's like super no name.
Who?
Yeah, who?
Yeah.
I actually love I think Saban's kind of really taken over. Vatty said at one point, he's like he passed sorry, Sabe's taken over like the banner, the torch of Rambles. So we're proud of him, I think.
Took it from Lella.
Took it from
At least
Loug.
Lella was the first. Maybe there was somebody in the middle.
Vatty did it for a
Lella.
while.
Okay, yeah, Lella was definitely the grandfather of it.
Yeah. I'd say
Yeah,
most
Sabe's
people
Yeah.
like
blown up.
that happen.
He's on Spotify. You guys see that?
Yeah, I was about to say that. He's on
Listen to
Spotify
my
now.
stuff
Yeah.
on
Google Podcasts
Spotify.
too. Yeah.
All right, good for our boy.
Hell yeah. Other than that, I don't know. I've been watching a lot of Rambles lately, actually. So I would say go watch Saving.
Yeah, off the top of my head, I'm not sure. I could definitely link you some as I watch them, but yeah, I kind of just watch most of my stuff on the side as I'm playing.
Yeah, same.
I used to watch like a fair bit of skilling content, like skillers who would do like updates and discussions about the game, but they've all like exclusively burnt out of the game at this point. I
Yeah,
haven't been active in a while. It's kind of sad.
or just
But yeah, go ahead, Luke.
like I don't know, stop making Rambles like most of us.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. Can't say I'm not to blame there.
For sure. Let's talk about. I feel like there's a lot more to explore on this. And maybe I don't know if this is if we want this to be our last topic or keep going or whatever we feel like. But let's talk more about the feeling of the race against time, quote unquote. And this can relate to like nerfs or Jagex, bringing in new content. That you want to
Yeah,
finish old content before this, or just essentially like as I mentioned, the race against time for the game, and tell me if you guys feel like the same way or specific situations. Kind of curious.
it's definitely one that a lot of people can relate to right now with the blowpipe and the insane rush to Well, even you said it before, your insane rush to go and get an infernal cape. I
Yeah,
think it's
yeah,
less now with the update. But like, yeah, it a lot of people are definitely going to relate to it. But I don't think I've really felt a rush to go and do content because of a nerf. I'm more of a reactive and acceptance player. What kind of comes into the game is it's coming into the game, and I don't really have a say to it. But
would you say
yeah,
this is like that's long term or short term? Kind of like, so if they announced, like, are you predictive, I guess is my question, of what they may or may not nerf, or are you said you're reactive, so are you specifically just kind of the person who says, okay, they just made out a blog post that says they're going to nerf the blowpipe. I didn't think they were going to do this, or I wasn't predicting that they were going to do this beforehand. But now that I know it's happening, let me go do some blowpipe content before they nerf it.
yeah, I think that's a majority of the players, but I'm not that way because I kind of focus on content that I'm enjoying at the time more than anything because at the end of the day, I'm going to progress more than rushing something that I don't enjoy. Like I'm going to end out progressing more, doing content that I do enjoy, rather than rushing something because of a potential nerf or even 100% nerf. I'll just kind of deal with that when I get there because if I'm not enjoying something, I guess you're risking burnout. That's the way that I play, but I know a lot of people don't play that way. They just will see that something is changing and just force themselves to do that content, regardless of how miserable it will make them.
Yeah. Just before I give you a shot at this, Juke, I actually want to say kind of what I think. I think in terms of, I do absolutely feel this, but I think it's two different ways. Like short term versus long term, you experience this a little bit differently. Short term, you can be a little bit more reactive in terms of what I just mentioned, where the blowpipe, for example, if the blowpipe is going to get nerfed, okay, now I'm reacting. Short term, I'm going to do, like, I don't know. So let's say we have like 2 weeks until they nerf the blowpipe. So for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to do this content, Grotesque Guardians or KQ specifically, right? Until they nerf that. And then you can go on to do whatever you want. I think short term that's absolutely sustainable, and I think short term your point about, okay, you're progressing, like you're going to progress more, you're going to progress faster doing content that you would like. I don't think that applies for short term, but when you look at it
Yeah,
in
true.
the other lens of a long term discussion, I think that's hugely important. Also, hi Juke, uh,
Yeah.
making a guest appearance at the Chins. Um, I lost my train of thought. Oh, the long term uh, side of that, I think, is completely valid to what you said, Bubbsy, because
Yeah, I
of
agree with that. Yeah.
if you're more of a long term predictive type of player where, and I actually have something I'm doing right now, not as we speak, but just in general, that does apply to this. So what I mean by predictive is if you say, okay, so I think Jagex is going to, let's use skilling as an example. I think Jagex is going to Jagex is going to buff, like Herblore is a big one that people have said for a long time, right? So I'm just going to leave Herblore to the very end, and that's kind of working at it the other way around, to where you're avoiding a certain skill until they do something about it. Whereas, in a more kind of what we were talking about context, let's just give Ironman ulting for Slayer as an example, right? If you were, worried about them nerfing Ironman ulting, and I kind of am to a certain degree, not necessarily about Slayer ulting, but some other certain Ironman. But you would try and like rush out that skill, and several Ironmen have finished 200 mil Slayer or finished their
Yeah.
Warcath goals and things like that.
Yeah, for sure. That definitely makes that race against time feeling, pretty massive. And they said flat out like 2 weeks ago that they're going to change Ironman ulting, like flat out. They said that they're going to do something about it.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk any game mechanic specifics because it's not wise. I don't think Jagex is equipped to fix Ironman ulting.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna be completely honest. I don't think they can do it. At least
In certain
to
things,
the
like, are you
extent.
talking about like splashing, luring stuff?
I don't. We can talk offline. I think I could see them making another legitimate attempt, like they did with like with the smoke ult shit.
Yeah.
There's so many ways you can alt stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to completely drill the discussion. Do you guys think Jagex actually cares? Real quick, do you think they actually care about Ironman ulting shit, or do they just see people complain about it every now and then? And they're like, "It's been long enough. Let's try something else again."
Well,
Like,
the argument that I like is I don't ult. I don't ult. The only two things I've ever altered is luring the crafting guild Tanner and scouting raids. I'll scout raids as I'm raiding
Dude, you're
on
the
an
worst
ult.
defender.
Yeah.
this guy scouts
And then
raids.
Whoa.
Get him.
oh, and then I'll hold it, pre-pot, run in. They're the only two alt methods I've ever done. And like I guess they're two kind of things that can't be fixed because that's unfixable in my eyes because I've just got an alt who's talking to a NPC that's holding them in place. Like, how do you fix that? And then I'm doing what's intended for raids. I'm not saying that I'm not going to go into the raid with the alt, but he just happens to leave at the last second. there's no
What a
fixing
nice
those
guy,
two
man.
things. Yeah, exactly. Thank you very much, myself, for the scout. But yeah, it's exactly the same as what Duke's saying with them not being able to fix like luring. Like they didn't even fix cannon smokes.
No.
I feel like you guys gave me a lot to touch on. I guess I'll go back to the very start where you initially asked, do I feel against the race against time? I think I don't want to cut into we were going to have a little break in the middle of our discussion about content change to kind of talk what we've been up to. I haven't made a video, like at least a solo ramble, in a long time now, probably like 7 or 8 months. I have pretty much completely abandoned any skilling goals I have on this account. When I did have skilling goals, I didn't want to say I felt the race against the clock because it was never like a specific proposed update that I was fighting against. I would try to play around the concept of what do people complain about the most with Ironman mode, like in terms of what is most likely to actually get addressed, because Jagex doesn't actually touch much when it comes to end game skilling methods. Sometimes they'll just randomly release a boss and it fucks over the entire meta for everything, and that's its own thing. Like, I thought they might address smithing, so I left smithing. I thought Dale was going to be stronger than it is.
Okay,
it's strong as a phone method.
Be honest,
Which is
Juke.
fun.
Did you just not want to train smithing?
Dude, I for one.
You really think gold ore packs are coming into the game? Like, seriously?
I thought they were gonna do something like they did with crafting. That was my actual. Well,
You
I
just
don't know
didn't
if I.
want
I
to.
don't
You
know if
just
I.
didn't want to train it.
Well, I don't know. I don't know if I thought it was more likely than not to happen. I thought smithing is a dog shit skill, and if there's a non-zero chance
There
it
it
might get
is.
better, why wait?
There it is.
But like when you're playing when you're skilling, I mean, like, this is true for all scores, but especially for Ironman. Like you can't divorce those thoughts from your mind, right?
No.
Like when something might get a huge buff. These days I'm really just been doing some PVM, a little bit of like casual pet hunting. So I'm kind of made a point not to play with updates in mind. Like if I really cared, I'd probably be doing Alt Nightmare right now. But I don't want to. I want to like kind of enjoy my time playing RuneScape, right?
Yeah.
So like I'm not doing that. If I didn't have an Inferno cape, I'd probably be doing Inferno. Like I don't think Inferno's not getting that much harder. People,
Yeah.
if you're going on Reddit right now and you're upvoting comments saying Inferno's harder because I have to prayer flick 15% more, stop doing that. Inferno's not getting that much harder. If I didn't have an Infernal cape, I'd probably be doing Inferno.
What if you're making those posts, not just upvoting them?
Dude, people who are making those posts are not listening. whatever, wherever we're posting this video, they're not getting this.
All right.
But like,
something I think we should touch on as well is the fact that this is an integrity change. Like sorry to go back to talking about gear, but like the polling system itself, I was talking about how that's flawed. And then I guess now it's even more flawed because this is something that is not being polled. I don't know what I think about it personally, because like we all agree nerf should happen, blowpipe 2 OP, but like just the premise of Jagex going, this is OP, we're doing this. Like, oh, we're listening to you, but too bad. It's like maybe they made the initial blowpipe offering that they're doing so bad so that then they could then bump it up a little bit, like, oh, hey, we're listening to your feedback, and bump it up a little bit. But they already knew they were going to do that anyway, to give us all the happy, heartfelt feeling that, oh, we still have a say in this thing that isn't actually getting polled in this game that we're meant to have full control through polls.
I wouldn't be surprised if they like kind of had that in mind. Like, let's just give an absolutely insane like proposal originally, right? And then kind of give the illusion of players having more influence than they really do. And maybe, maybe I'm completely wrong. Maybe they don't go in with that mindset at all, but I mean, I wouldn't be super surprised. But I also don't think the JMods have like a malicious intent and when they're saying, okay, let's actually like address the integrity of the issue while completely forgetting the integrity of like being a human.
Yeah, I don't think that myself, but it's just like a game company could do that and would be none the wiser. It's more the fact that
PR type
it's more the fact that they're saying that we're not polling this just as a whole in this game, where it's advertised as this old version of a game that we absolutely ruined and everyone went to hate, but it's better this time because you have a say.
Gotcha.
Let me ask. I'm fully on board with the idea that the polling system is in itself like a complete farce. Like it's meant to give the illusion of more community control than we have. But at the same time, the JMods could literally, like, what balance change could get 75% approval? Like, they would literally not be able to rebalance anything.
Yeah.
Any question that's posed is, we want to make X content worse by any manner, is going to, it's not going to pass. So, like, them saying, I think that they had to give themselves this backdoor approach of saying, well, this is an integrity change, we're not pulling it. Like, I think it's been abused. There's some stuff that I wish I had better examples offhand. I've seen stuff that they've been like, this is an integrity change. I'm like, is that really an integrity change? But like blowpipe balance is an integrity change. I don't see a way around that.
The main other examples of that is when they've released content and then it's been
like
higher XP rates than Oh yeah, I guess the trading in ZMI. I think that's obviously Ironman related, but that's a good example of just, oh hey, you can't trade here anymore because we polled it at this and everyone's doing that.
I don't know if either of you are old school enough to remember this. Do you guys remember when Ironman redirection scrolls failed to poll like 4 times in a row?
Yeah.
And Jagex eventually just said, "Fuck you, voters, we're adding it."
Yeah, that was sick.
Like that
Respect.
that's like an example of like, dude, the community literally doesn't know what they're doing. Like, why didn't they want Ironman to have redirection?
Dude, I
scrolls?
felt like a peer, you know? Where you just get like shit on in the polls.
Like, yeah.
Now it's the
The more-
Ironman creating those polls, you know?
The more I play this game, the more I'm in favor of Jagex just doing what they want with the game.
To a certain degree, I do agree. Like, man, I have nightmares if they would have just like done that with like warding, you know? Like just toss warding in the game.
We've spent so much time already developing this skill and, you know, all that. We're just going to put it in the game
Yeah, so like
as an integrity.
to a degree, I agree with you, but not for everything, especially huge game updates like a new skill, for example. But integrity things, yeah, you know, I do support that, and I think they reserve the right for sure to like make changes like that.
I think
Except my smokes. Don't fucking touch my smokes.
I think too many people have a like neutral to positive view of me right now, so I'm just gonna say it. I was extremely anti warding at the time. I honestly wouldn't care if they added it now.
Really?
I kind of like to see what they could do with it. Like I'm kind of curious. Like I think what they put in the blog was dog shit. But like I just want to see what they could have done with it, because I don't think like they're capable of doing good stuff with content. And even fixing stuff later.
Though, do you see them, if they go ahead and say, hey, we're going to fix Ironman to be the original idea of it being a solo game mode, any alting content, we're going to try and phase it out. Is that integrity, or is that going to be polled? Because you know what the poll's going to do? Everyone's going to vote no on that.
Will they though?
So
I don't know. That's actually a good question. Like if they actually pull an Ironman integrity update.
So like you're saying they reserve the right to do integrity changes, but don't touch my smokes.
All they
I'm
gonna be honest.
Biased,
literally,
it's a bit of bias.
The only thing Jagex can do about Ironman ulting, if they actually want to address it at its core, is to say we're going to aggressively perm ban people who abuse alts as Ironman.
Yeah.
They cannot fix content to remove, dude. Like, I don't know. I mean, I guess Bubbsy, apparently you're not a big alt abuser. Like Loug and I are like full on degenerate when it comes to this shit. Like you can use your alt for anything in this game to get some kind of advantage. Like they're not going to rebalance all the content. Maybe they'll fix it in a couple places. Like fine, you know what? Sure. I honestly I'm not opposed to them trying to make it that way, but I don't think they can.
Yeah. They're like while I don't use alts, I'm not one of those Reddit people that don't use alts and say, oh, you know, people who use alts can do this and can do that and I can't. It's like you can't complain about that when you also have the option. Like I have the option to make a Slayer ult. I just don't want to do that.
Mm-hmm.
So like it's really it's a no issue. Like I just take the L when I go to smokes and I'll, you know, lure them by other means. But like people who complain about it, I don't understand that because they have the option to do it right now.
Let me say this too, just because I don't know if everyone's aware of this. At least for Ironman, alt save so little time in the grand scheme of things. When you're looking at time to 200 mil, alt save less than 5%. When you look at time to all pets, alt save even less than that. Like they speed up
specifically.
Yeah. Like it speeds up some Slayer tasks by what 20%, 30%. That's some of the tasks. I mean, most of your Slayer time isn't even spent doing those fast tasks anyway. And I mean, like outside of that, like what are all the slow skills? Like all of your gatherers aren't sped up with alts. RC isn't sped up with alts. Agility isn't sped up with alts. Like all pets, like most pets, you like. I don't know. I'm in the process of making an Ironman God Wars alt, but like even that isn't really saving me time. It's just gonna make it so I don't have to flick a minion or something.
Okay, yeah. Actually, question about that. Like, what are you planning on using? What are you planning on using that for? Because
I'm gonna kill I'm gonna kill range
Yeah.
minion at Sarah. I'm gonna kill mage
Is that
minion at
specific? That's not
Arma.
even for like boosting kills per hour. That's just like straight up.
No,
for,
it doesn't.
Like,
You're not gonna
AFK, right?
two world methods. I mean, you can. Wait,
You can't use that method anymore.
You
I
can't.
thought you
Yeah,
can't.
if you hop, you're outside the room now, right? So it
Yeah.
doesn't actually. Maybe it extends kills by like a couple per trip, maybe because you use less supplies, or don't have to flick as much. But it's just for convenience more than anything.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just like, I hate seeing people who are like, I don't play an alt because I have the moral high ground, but look how much of a disadvantage I'm at. Like that is.
Yeah, I respect people
I
like
think it's-
Bubbsy who like knows the disadvantage, but just like accepts it and says like, I
It's the same
understand
thing
that we
again
could
where
be doing this.
I'm playing for fun over. Like I
Yeah.
just don't enjoy playing multiple accounts at the same time. So people who do, they can do that. I don't. I'm going to take the loss on that. Like if I
Yeah.
care that much and I wanted to, I've got that option.
I mean, I felt the complete same way when I talked with. Let's give a shout out to my boy Vadi if he's listening to this. I had the first time I'd ever talked to him was when I did that ramble with him. We talked a fair bit about alting, and I know he doesn't alt anything.
Yeah.
And I felt like he and I had the exact same viewpoint on alts, and just like one of us found it a more enjoyable way to play the game, the other didn't, and that's the difference, right? And I think that's I don't know. I think that's like the perfect balance for it, right? Like unless they're what are we going to instance worlds for us, then like there's so many external ways
servers,
you can
right?
influence gameplay. Yeah, give me my own world and that nobody else can log into, and I'll play Ironman the way Jagex
I know a
intended
few
it.
Ironmen that would actually want that.
I mean, I'd be fine with that too, but if like outside of that, I don't know. They're not going to remove all alting. They're either going to make it a little more annoying to do, like maybe a couple things you can't alt anymore, or I don't know. I genuinely don't see it as a problem.
So I'm an alting. You don't feel the race against time.
No, I mean if I was, I'd be racing for 200 mil Slayer right now, but that's like the only skill that's actually gonna get slower.
So
Or,
I do have a different opinion on that specifically, the Ironman alting. I actually so I may or may not be doing corp right now. So
are you a corp gangbang enthusiast?
Yeah, so like I absolutely feel the kind of the race against time, if you will, because I like if you ask me personally, like, do I think the corp specking on 2 accounts to be able to get 13 kills an hour is like should be in the game, like it should be an Ironman method? No, like what the fuck? Why? Like that makes no sense. But at the same time, if it's in the game, and I think I've always held pretty true to this standard of my opinion on alting in general, just happened to be kind of now how it relates to racing against in my opinion, the nerf that's just going to happen at some point this year. But my opinion overall is, while it's in the game, while it's efficient, I will do it, absolutely. But do I support certain things? So I actually don't hold the same opinion for Slayer ulting, like splashing, for example. I actually don't think Jagex can nerf this in an appropriate way. So my opinion changes in the way that, for Corp specifically, do I think they should nerf that? Yes. Do I think they should nerf actually alting like Slayer, for example? Yes. Do I think they should nerf stuff like alt KQ? Yes. Do I think they should...
Dude, alt KQ? God damn. Why the fuck is that a thing?
So maybe I'm being a little bit more like picky and choosy kind of thing, but I think that's the way they're also going to do it. They're not just going to blanket like roll out one patch of like nerfing literally every single possible alt method in the game, right? They're going to select a couple troublesome ones, particularly probably like Corp, right?
Let me ask you this. Let me ask both of you guys this right now. Jagex pulls tomorrow that they're going to aggressively permaban any iron found using alts to gain an advantage in gameplay. You vote yes or no?
If they're pulling it?
Let's just say they pulled it. I don't think they would, but let's say they did. Like, let's say maybe they even just pulled like high level Ironman.
So give me a poll question. Like, what is the
anyone
question?
from now on, any Ironman found using alts to gain an advantage over what would be a solo method is going to be permabanned.
Or de-iron.
Yes or no? Or de-iron, sure, either one. Like, let's just say, like, if they were to go, I think that's the only way they can actually address it at its core, right? Like, they're not going to be able to fix the game mechanics.
When Ironman first come out, wasn't that a thing? Like, there were people that actually got de-ironed for doing certain methods.
Yes.
People point out a couple examples. Like, I know they point out Bonesaw, they point out the hardcore who got like de-hardcored at Serb, but like, there's never been like a large policy of people, like, especially who aren't content creators in any way, getting like de-ironed or banned for ult abuse. Outside of like bugs like the dual arena transfer or stuff like that, but that's its own category.
So to answer your question, no, I'm voting no to that.
Yeah.
I don't think I'd care. I think I'd be fine with it either way. But I don't think they can actually do it in game. And that's all they'll ever do, right? Like, they're not going to actually go after banning people.
So yeah, like the issue with your question, or your question there was, like, I don't think they can pull that. That just doesn't make sense for them to ever pull that. I think they just come out, the way they fix this, in my opinion, is to put out that same statement as a statement and say, yes, we're going to, like, start monitor, and
there will now be an option
taking
in
action.
the report player thing for Ironman abusing.
Sure, yeah.
Certain methods. That's how it would be. That's how it would be rolled out realistically.
Yeah, that way you can have player monitoring as well as, like, JMod manually monitoring kind of thing.
I again don't even want to get into specifics, but I even doubt their ability to actually address core bolting.
Really? Why?
I don't know. I don't think they have.
Game mechanics at this point.
I mean, they would definitely have to be game mechanics. But how long are they going to leave a personal instance open for, or how long are they going to track a world? How long something's been damaged for?
I feel like they take away the corp regeneration thing, or they change that. You know what I mean? Like you can regen.
I guess that
every 7 seconds.
That's actually an interesting idea, but that opens up, I guess, a separate issue then, right? Which is, I guess, you can just do zero supply corp without speccing down.
Wait.
Right, you just lower defense, you go and stab it, get low HP, go to house, come back.
Yeah, like,
maybe they don't see that as an issue.
You realistically do the same method that you do today, but if you've got enough health to stay there for a couple of Hasta stabs, you might as well. So, like, you would Dragon War and then do a few Hasta stabs and then teleport home and then do, rinse and repeat.
That would probably even speed it up, though, because then you could only go after its defense level, right? You wouldn't have to waste your time lowering its magic.
You also wouldn't use any food. It would be zero food. Like, it'd be
zero food, zero prayer.
Just POH. Maybe that's not how they should do it, but I don't know. I
don't want to give them any ideas in case. Like, I don't know. I'm just skeptical.
I know you're listening to this,
mechanics. If it comes to game mechanics, I'm just so skeptical, both about their ability and also just their, like, actual desire. Like, are they gonna, like, bring a lot of resources into addressing this?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I want to ask you guys too. I guess I know everybody. This is like the stereotypical hot button issue to talk about, but how do you guys feel about like account sharing services?
Yeah, I was gonna say
account
sharing and those services Discord is a way bigger issue than an Ironman making an account so to give his main Ironman account an advantage somewhere. Like, that's a different topic altogether, but it's a bigger issue than Ironman ulting, in my opinion.
I think it's more likely to get addressed too.
Actually. Yeah, like, definitely. Like, I
think it's a bigger issue for sure. Yeah. But do you think it's more controllable than Iron ulting? I feel like they have more of a hand on being able to address Ironman ulting, for example. It's hard to compare the two as well because they're totally different. But I feel like they have more in their power to do in terms of in-game capabilities when addressing, like, Ironman ulting versus like player account sharing.
Yeah, I'm not too sure about how they would do it either way. They both sound pretty difficult to kind of fix. But yeah, the account sharing one is definitely a bigger issue that they should be more focused on, because you can kind of relate it to like what you see in RS3 today. People, at the end of the day, like the Squeal of Fortune or whatever it is called today, is people paying money to do things faster in game. Jagex as a company see that, and that's actually revenue that they see. These services discords is revenue they're not seeing of people essentially doing the exact same thing. Jagex aren't getting revenue off these people that are willing to pay money to do things faster.
I agree. Yeah.
So as a
Good point.
company, they should be seeing that as a massive issue.
I want to
But
say
would
this
they
too.
would they be spending that money like on Jagex anyways? Do you know what I mean? Like,
That's what I'm
do they-
saying. Yeah,
do they
if the
see
option
that
was
revenue?
there, so if the option was there of the Squeal of Fortune in Old School or whatever you want to call it, the people that are paying those services Discord would be paying the money to Jagex, is what I'm saying. They wouldn't be paying a services Discord because that option to speed things up for these people that want to speed things up and other people play their account, do content for them, it's there.
So you're saying the
But
way to
because-
fix services Discord is to implement MTF?
Oh, absolutely not. No. But I'm saying that in Jagex's eyes as a company, so just dollars and cents, they should be seeing that as a loss of revenue.
Okay.
And that is why it's an issue to them. And that is why it should be fixed.
Also, what do you guys think about the idea that, like, I see people in particular complain about like irons using services as opposed to like in general. Like, do you guys see irons using services as like fundamentally a bigger problem than mains using it?
No, I think
Kinda,
it stems
yeah.
down to like account sharing.
I see it
For
as all the
example.
exact same thing, really.
Like there's certain like
That's it.
boosting services you can hire, right? But that comes down to the fact that people have ever since the game's like inception really have paid money to get other people to do things for them, right? Like
Yeah, like
dude,
I think
who
I
was
see
a
it as
noob?
an issue because of what you just said, like trading other people for your pure S has been in the game since day one. Like that's just a main account method. That's efficient to do. But like as an Ironman and how it was sold to us as a
Did
account
anyone
services.
like when you were super
Yeah.
newbie, like I can vividly recall me collecting cowhides for some rich dude, and he would pay me. And one time he tipped me with a black SQ shield, and I was the happiest
Oh.
motherfucker, dude. Like
Well,
I
that's
got
just
my
like a
5K.
part of the main game mode.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh.
Like I don't know. I just can ever since when, right? Like you can vividly like remember or imagine situations of this, to a lesser extent for sure. But that same concept has essentially been in the game forever. So I don't think that's the issue. I think it's when you hire someone to actually log into your account physically. And
Yeah,
and
logging in is
that's the-
definitely more of the
That's
issue.
the issue.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. I see it as very different from alting,
Yeah.
but at the same time, like you asked me, like some 1500 total Ironman pays someone to get him 70 agility. Do I give a shit? No.
No.
Rank 5 pays someone to skill for him 8 hours every night while he sleeps. Do I care? Yes, I have a problem with that. But what you see the bulk of the services is some guy who's 2200 total is paying someone to do 300 bando skills for him. Like, do I have a problem with that? Like,
Yeah, it's getting
like
there.
it's getting to the point where like I don't actually care, but like at the same time, I don't know. I genuinely don't know.
Back to that point of people who are playing Ironman who just shouldn't be Ironman. That guy who's paying that guy to go and kill bandos is missing the point of Ironman game mode. Like he should just be playing a main, go
Or
to the
fuck
GE,
Iron
and
Man,
buy
like,
a DCP.
just the game in general. Like, why are you?
Oh, true. Yeah, you can extend out
Dude,
that
why
far
can't
as
you
well.
like
Yeah.
be at the computer and make your own progress?
I feel like we're almost in the minority there, though, with that view. Which is, I feel like Iron Man is increasingly becoming. It's like a trophy game mode. It's like I did this, and it's on my Iron Man, so it's cooler. I don't.
That's why so
like,
many people don't like people logging into their accounts. Just account sharing in general, I think especially on an Ironman, is looked down upon by other Ironmen because They're trophy accounts.
But are you saying, Juke, like, are you saying that in terms of it's more about the end result and like what you end up having as opposed to like how you got there and the journey and the story and stuff like that?
I think it's not about the journey anymore. I think it's about specific like trophies, so to speak.
Like the
I
end
think
result,
it's
right?
like look at me, I finished chambers on my Ironman, or look at me, I have a scythe on my Ironman. Look at me, I have all God Wars pets. I know no one has it on their Ironman yet. R.I.P. Carol.
Yep.
But like I think people care about like the specifics of Iron Man.
Yeah.
Like I achieved this specific thing, and it's cooler than you mains who achieved it because I have this icon next to my name. And like who gives a
And if
shit
you
what
look
I
at
abused to get here?
and through Jagex's eyes as well, they obviously see some items as an achievement because in Infernal Cape selling is a thing that people get their capes ripped off their accounts for. So like Jagex care about at least one item in the game not being a trophy item that you can buy.
Oh, it's so sad, dude. Too. I've literally been like in Discord calls with people like as they sell capes for other people. It's shit's fucked. That's unrelated, but I respect their effort, Jagex. Truly, I respect you guys trying to make it like a thing, but they just
so
they
hard,
can't
yeah.
they can't deal with the selling, right? I mean, how do you deal with remote desktop? You
Yeah.
actually can't.
You can't.
Like all you have is like internal community ridicule, right? Like we know who the cape buyers are, and we're gonna say, no, you can't get in our
Yeah,
clan, or we're
don't
gonna make fun of you.
snitch.
But that's it.
Yeah.
That's all we can do.
Yeah. But then even some clans have been like I remember it happened in Olympus a little while ago. How we tweeted out saying that like it was a fairly new person.
Oh yeah.
We tweeted out saying that they got kicked because they had apparently bought their cape prior to joining the clan. We kicked them out, and there was like a comment below it like, "Oh, that's so cool that you kicked him out of your clan for buying a cape."
Yeah.
We kind of fucking clowned him a bit, but
What do you guys?
Yeah.
Let me ask you guys this then. What do you think about like the community itself having separate standards outside of what Jagex is reasonably able to enforce? Like how it like right now it seems like Ironman ulting is like it's very widely accepted within the Ironman community. Like, would you guys like to see it become something that's kind of ridiculed in the same way that like buying an Infernal Cape is, where it's like Jagex might not be able to actually enforce it themselves, but like or you're going to be an outcast.
Really good question, because like when it was initially introduced, like I had a conversation with Nex about this because I kind of wasn't around for when it was found, I guess you would say. The people who had the biggest issue with it are the people that are using it today, because it comes back to Luke's point of if it's in the game, I'm going to take advantage of it. But if they take it out, then I took advantage of it while it was there. If it's sufficient for me to do and it's available and it's not bannable, I'm going to do it. But like when that come out, the people who complained about it the most were the high level people. But now the high level people are doing it themselves.
Are you saying complain about having it in the game?
Yeah.
Like I remember, just as like for instance, like I remember, I don't know if any of you guys remember Allison. I guess you're probably too new, Bubbsy. Loug, do you remember him, the Iron Man, Allison?
Allison, yeah.
Allison, yeah. Like I remember him being like, and this was like 2016. He's like, I'm running arty rooftops and specking down Corp on my alt. We're like, actually,
he
fuck
got
you,
shit
dude.
on.
Yeah,
He
like
got
the
shit
whole
on.
community was like, you're actually a bitch for doing this. And now it's like, oh yeah, you're only running one Corp alt, dude. You're a casual.
Yo, what?
Like. It's wild how much the community perceptions changed, but like Jagex hasn't changed their official stance on it.
No. That's so funny, actually. I totally forgot about that.
Like like I was in like a CC that he was in, like people like just like actually like watch for him to join the CC and then flame him like for no reason, dude. Change your left click NPC attack options when you're doing Hunter. Come on.
What?
I saw that. I saw you kick the chin on top of your trap.
I'm just gonna forget. Like when I go back to Corp, I'm just gonna forget. I'm gonna like end up walking through and dying.
Yeah, click through and spam. Yeah.
Whenever I turn off NPC attack options.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I guess kind of. I will just say in general, I'm sad. I'm sad that the like I feel like so many of our discussions around shit like this is limited by Jagex's technical ability to enforce their own rules. And like that in it, like it won't shape it right away, but over time it shapes how people look at stuff like this. I
But
think
it's also
Can you
them
expand
not
on that?
having.
I
It's
think
also them not having a blanket rule for some things as well. Like they've never really addressed. They don't have a rule saying that you can't do certain things.
Yeah.
But let's
So
say
like,
even if,
it's technical ability, but it's also the idea that, or is what I'm doing right now not allowed? Like I think I heard an example recently of like the serve method that got some people de-hardcored or whatever that you spoke about before. But the opposite side of that is when that Bando's BC Guppy method come out with red Xing, that was like brought up on stream and like everyone loved it. Like it was essentially the same thing at the end of the day, was avoiding damage from the boss using a game mechanic. One will get you de-ironed or de-hardcored or whatever, and the other one will get like a massive shout out on stream. Like where's the rule for that? Like I know that's like a really edge case scenario, but like it's technical ability for fixing problems, but as well as that is like there are no rules for some things.
Yeah, I'll expand on it for Loug a little bit. So I mean, obviously, there's no explicit rules written for Ironman mode. I think we all agree with that, right? You have the in-game thing. I'm an Ironman. I stand alone. You have whatever their like initial advertising for Ironman was, which is like, oh, it's a solo game mode. You play by yourself. You achieve everything by yourself. There's no official rules, so we can move past right from the start. There's no official rules for it. Like I'm thinking like okay, like 2016. Allison, whatever, uses alts for corp. Fuck you, dude. That's cheating. You're using your alt to get an unfair advantage on us. Move forward a year. It sucks that Ironman alting's a thing. It's cheating, but Jagex isn't addressing it, and I want to be competitive, so I'm going to use it. Moves forward a little bit more. This is a more interesting way to play the game. I enjoy using my alt. It makes more methods viable. I actually just enjoy the game at a fundamental level more while using alt accounts than I would without. I think that's kind of where I'm at. Move forward even more. Like it's 2020. I see 1,600, 1,700 total Ironmen in the Ironscape server being like, oh, I'm working on my smoke alt right now. Like I remember, like I was following like the high level community for a couple of years now. I remember when people were first discussing like should smoke alt be assumed for EHP for people who are going for 200 mil Slayer, and you have people who aren't even 93 Slayer yet now who are like, oh yeah, I have like my buddy's old main account that's going to be a smoke alt. Like,
damn,
this didn't happen in a vacuum, right? Like it happened because Jagex did nothing. Like Jagex is just turning a blind eye to it. Like the people who are like, this shouldn't be a thing in the game. Like there are still those people now, especially ironically, it seems like mains who say that the most. Like there are people who hold that view, but like over time, like as you join the game and you're a new player, like even Bubbsy, like Bubbsy isn't a big alt abuser, but like he doesn't have like a really negative opinion of people who do. Like you could say that's because he's an Olympus and he's surrounded by people who play alts all the time. Fine, and maybe that's a valid point to some degree. But like, no, I think genuinely, like when nothing is done about it and there's no official rule against it, people over time just accept it, right?
yeah.
So like I think our perception of how we view people who use alts is completely shaped by the fact that no one's been banned for it, or no one's been banned for it since a month after Ironman release.
It's a really good point.
So I think it's just kind of sad. I wish Jagex had taken a more aggressive stance from the start, but like if they were to do it now and step in, like we'd hate it, right? Like I'd be pissed if I woke up tomorrow and they're like,
because there's those people who had the time when it was available to abuse it.
Like imagine they were like, we have some intern, it's mod avatar character number 4. He's hopping around in the Smoke Devil cave all day. He's banning you if you're an Ironman, you're using an alt. Like
and
I'd be like, fuck
and
this.
He's tweeting you out, naming and shaming you, and everyone's gonna like that tweet, going ha ha.
Yeah, I'd be
turns
like,
out you're actually a mod Iron Man.
So cringe.
Yeah,
I'd be so cringe.
We'd hate that shit. We'd be like, yeah, this is stupid. But like at the same time, I'm like, Jagex should make up your own damn mind on these rules and go back in time 4 years and enforce them. I don't know. It's just, it's fucked. I don't think I can divorce my own opinion about alts from Jagex's own lack of action. Like that's really kind of my takeaway point on this.
I heard a lot about that with the blowpipe nerf as well. It's too late. It's too late.
I don't think it's too late for item balance. I think it's too late for like game style balance to a degree.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Like especially like imagine for mains now, they're like we're gonna ban account share or like you can't multi-lock.
Yeah,
Like
what?
you haven't made your money for 200 mil all yet. Like yeah, dude, have fun doing what is it like 100k Cerberus and crafting
Yeah.
nature runes.
But then that goes back to the technical ability of Jagex not being able to monitor that because VPNs exist and
Yep.
streamers advertise VPNs all day. So it would just be like log in one account here and then the next account over there, and you're good to go. You can have your Rune Dragon ult. But if
Yeah,
someone doesn't want to pay for that VPN, they can do that.
Like, is Jagex really going to be able to monitor? Like, if they objectively say, also, nice log.
Dude, I got 6-houred. Fuck this.
Oh.
Yeah,
No.
you guys remember when I said I barely play the game these
Yeah,
days?
right. What was I saying? I was saying,
Technical ability?
It does come down to their ability to police it too, right? So maybe
Hmm.
that's probably a big reason why they haven't, necessarily done anything, is because, depending on the ways they actually want to fix things, it might require some policing, and they're just not able to do the policing of it,
Yeah, there's like on the point of like VPNs specifically, there would literally be nothing they can do about that.
It's the same thing that can be said for oh my god, I'm having a mind blank. Okay, come back to me, never mind.
Let me ask you this: is it even fair? Let's say this. Let's say we all like everybody who understands like how shit actually works understands Jagex can't do anything about multi-logging. They put it in the rules. Multi-logging's banned. So you have player A who's like, you know what, dude, I respect the rules. I'm gonna do nature rune crafting. I'm gonna kill Cerberus for my money. I'm doing this shit solo. And then you have player B who's like, I'm playing this Rune Dragon ult for the next 2 years with a VPN, and then after those 2 years, I'm gonna stake my main account and dude, my ult is gonna DC at the start of the fight.
Oh,
Like,
man.
just like, is it actually good for the game for Jagex to try to enforce, like, to make something against the rules that they actually can't enforce?
No,
Just make a
because
divide in the players. Like, all you do is divide the players, like between people
that's
who
right,
are
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
follow the rules and people who aren't, but they can't actually do anything against the people who aren't. And maybe those two groups will argue, but like Jagex isn't going to do shit about it.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. I think you've just said everything right there.
It does come down to, I think, actually one thing that came up at my work recently is the concept of the 80-20 rule. So the fact that you do as much as you can to deter the 80%, and then the 20% who are left are gonna probably be trying to do it anyways, regardless of what you do, kind of thing. So if you deter the majority with the 80%, you're left with the 20% no matter really what you do, essentially. So your goal and your efforts should be focusing on that 80%. In this case, kind of the same thing that they did with my mind blank earlier was just going to touch on. It's the same concept of third-party clients, where they said, okay, you can't do all these sort of things with third-party clients, but just by saying the fact that, yeah, all these extra clients and stuff are like, prohibited, kind of thing, it deterred the majority of players. There's still people who use like a lot of the cheat clients.
RuneLight had a massive hand in helping Jagex do that by saying, okay, we're going to remove everything you say. We're going to play by the rules.
100%.
That's a
I
great
think
point.
that relationship is like so healthy as well.
That's a great point, Luke. Let me point out this. Like, when you get out ahead of something, let's say they can't. Let's take ulting for example. Let's start with the assumption that they can't technically enforce it. If they get out in front of it and say in 2016, ulting is against the rules. Ironman in mode is meant to be played solo. It's meant to be played without the use of ult accounts. Maybe they're not out there perm banning people for it, but they set the community perception to some degree of how that's going to be looked at, right? And like maybe there's going to be the fringe, very high level players who are like, you know what, fuck the rules, dude. They can't enforce this. I'm using my ults, whatever. But they're going to shape how the bulk of the game or like the bulk of that game mode plays the game.
Exactly.
By
Yeah,
letting it, by
People are
ignoring
still
it.
gonna do it. Yeah.
Yeah, by ignoring it for this long, like ulting is in the bones. You have like maybe you're not going to stop me from ulting at this point, but if they make it against the rules now, are they going to stop new players from doing it? Maybe. Like,
but like,
I don't know. I don't know. Maybe
it
it's
definitely
still
wouldn't
worth.
be, even if it was introduced in 2016, it definitely wouldn't be an 80-20 split. Like,
No,
it would
it's
be a
just an
lot more.
example, right?
People still coming in. Yeah, okay. But like, it's in the rules to like account sharing is a bannable offense to let your friend log in. Like that's actually in the rules.
Is
So,
it still?
but yeah, you can.
Oh,
Yeah,
Like
what do I
the,
know?
actually
the
still in the rules.
security stronghold tells you not to let your friend log in while you're in
Yeah,
the same room.
it's actually in the terms of service to say that it's a bannable offense to let someone else log onto your own account. But obviously, these services, Discord's making a pretty big
I've played,
mockery of that.
like I've
And
played this game for
that
how
was
long,
in
and
the
I didn't even know that was against the rules. I played this game how many hours? I didn't even know. Who's going to jagex.com and reading the
Yo,
official rules?
just to let you know, bro, you have a 10K waiting for you at the security stronghold.
he skipped the questions like everyone else.
Dude, you can just keep mashing the door and eventually let you through. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think this was a really good discussion. I think ulting in general is such a fascinating topic because the discussion is so much beyond like the actual game mechanics, right? Like how much of this discussion was about is it fair for me and Loug to be able to get 15k an hour more killing Necreals than Bubbsy is getting it? Like it's about how Jagex is addressed and managed their game, right? It's about community management. There's so many factors that go into just every aspect of this discussion. I don't know. I love talking about it, even with people who have very different opinions than me. I think it's
I think
extremely
it
enjoyable.
actually adds a lot to the conversation instead of just like me and Juke circle jerking each other. Like, yo, like fucking, let's go do some court, my dude. Yo, who's specking down for who this time? Like,
Wait, yeah, 14 kills an hour. Let's go.
oh god. But you know, it adds a lot to the conversation just to have people who like aren't of like mind. Like, you know, Bubbsy said he can respect and he understands why people do it, right? But he doesn't have the
Yeah,
same
absolutely.
idea and same opinion.
Yeah, it's like it's different enjoyment as well. Like Duke says he can't imagine playing without it because he loves doing that game style so much. And I'm the opposite. Like I can't imagine playing the game that way because I wouldn't enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly.
I like how you mentioned the progression of like how it got worse and worse, Juke. In terms of like, yeah, okay, well you start off in the fact like, whoa, fuck LS and like how dare he like log on to his main account and assist, you know, his Ironman account to the point where like it progresses up until we're like, yeah, you know, how dare you not get 170k an hour at smokes? Like, what are you doing getting 90k an hour doing? You know,
Yeah. Like,
Ironman?
does anybody have a gear set up for my 4 dancing ults at shit like that?
Yeah.
Do you guys want to take a couple minutes? I kind of want to fill up my water bottle, maybe run to the restroom, and hit. Looks like we have like 2 topics left on
Yeah,
this.
for
I
sure.
wouldn't mind doing like a quick like update for what you guys are doing too.
I'm down.
Yeah, hit pause.
Let's hit the
Maybe
washroom.
prevent Lug's whole recording from corrupting as well.
Yeah, for
In
sure.
case. I always get worried when it's been running that long.
Yeah, it's not a bad idea actually. I might just start it over again.
Alright, I'll
How
catch you
long
guys in
have
a
we
minute or
been
two.
Okay.
Like 2.5 hours or so, maybe.
I think we're almost 3. We're at the
Oh, damn.
240 or so.
Still going strong though.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'll be right back for washroom and water.
Bye, everybody.
Yeah, same.
You still recording, Loug?
Did you hear that thunder that I was having like 20 minutes ago?
I didn't hear anything while we were discussing. No, right now I could
No,
hear
I
like a dull thud in the background, but that was it.
Yeah, there was a little bit, like about 20 minutes ago, there was like two massive like thumps. And I like looked at my activity like voice thing and it was like coming up. I wasn't sure if it was like super loud or something, but like it was like house shaking loud thumps of thunder.
Oh jeez. God damn it. I went to buy a bunch of Prosy Elms for Wildy content. I accidentally bought 50 Initiate ones. Wait, how much worse is the prayer on this? God damn. Because I'm alking Initiate Elms for the rest of the podcast.
Lucky you're not recording.
Do we want to hop onto the other topics?
I think let's do a little bit of a break. Let's talk about like what we're up to in game and shit like that,
Yeah,
and then
sure,
hit
let's
the
do that.
remaining ones.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm still feeling good. I thought I'd be tired by now, but
Yeah, me too,
definitely ready to
sometimes,
keep going.
Let's not make it forever, but
Oh no, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, my story is pretty boring. I just make blood runes, which I probably don't want to tell a lot of people about, to be honest, because I get called Gliss. But even worse than Gliss. And then
is it just kind of like your AFK type stuff?
Yeah, like because I work from home, I'll sometimes do bloods, but then like even when I just don't feel like playing, I'll just then want to watch a movie on the side. I'll just be doing bloods, and then like I'm 12 out of 12 at Cox, but I still do Cox, like fairly regularly, and then
Doing like
just do-
CM?
No, normal.
Oh,
and then just Tob when I can.
do you only top on OS servers? Just out of curiosity.
Um,
I'm always looking for
I did
top
like my
teams.
first 30 KC on US Westworld's 170 ping, and that's honestly fine. But lately I've been going with Tails. So I've been talking to him a fair bit recently, and it's been regular enough to go with him, and like maybe like every 2 or 3 nights we'll do like 5 to 10 runs at Tob.
If you can get a consistent team with Tails, like he's a huge gamer, I would try and keep that as long as you can.
For sure, yeah.
Especially
No, we've
since
been
he's always
talking heaps
been-
recently. He's a cool guy.
Does he have Scythe?
No, he's still whip bitch.
Nah. I mean, yeah, he's still a gamer, but dude, get with the Scythe.
I'm also whip bitch. Yeah, we've got consistently we go with a guy named Roth, who used to be like a pre-EOC YouTuber. Apparently. I forget his name off the top of my head. But yeah, one Scythe and then Sphinx as well. He's in Olympus,
Sphinx
but
is a good guy.
not Yeah.
I guess I should just rejoin Olympus at some point. Maybe I'll get top teams.
Like
I kind of forgot that you
Bownator,
like left.
What's that?
I forgot that you like
Bownator,
temporarily left.
Yeah, I mean, you remember why I
Yeah.
did. It's
yeah.
almost time I come back, I guess.
Yeah, I was gonna like say Bownator come back like 2 weeks ago or something, maybe 2-3 weeks ago. And
Oh, did he? Nice.
He's not
yeah,
not anymore.
Did he
yeah, so
DI?
Yeah.
he de-ironed, bought a
Oh, damn.
T-bow,
Did you-
and then a week later he was on a high risk world and lost the T-bow in the wilderness.
Oh, that's a very
Dude, if you-
bonerator thing to do.
Are you still in the Ollie Discord? You are, right?
Yeah, just
Look
no
in tips.
friend Joe.
Look in tips, the tips channel, and just scroll up. You'll find it. It has like 40 reactions to it, bro.
Oh, let me take a look.
So I gotta live myself.
So funny. Poor guy, man. Poor guy. I love him. He's a good guy.
Yeah, I'll react to that. Deserves it.
So
All right,
funny.
I guess we get back to it.
Okay, Juke, once you contain yourself, what are you up to in game?
Oh, we record.
Yeah. I've been recording.
God damn.
So-
Fucking warned me, dude. Yeah, dude. Law school, I think I tweeted in like end of October that I was quitting. I didn't log in for like 6 weeks. December came, I wasn't allowed to go outside. The whole town was shut down. I was bored out of my mind. I watched like chess YouTube videos in bed for like a week. I was like, fuck it, I'll log back in. I ended up hosting a competition for I'm still not extremely involved, but a little bit involved with Ironscape. Hosted a competition with them over like Christmas and New Year's, and part of that was raiding. And I was like, fuck it, I have nothing to do. I'll do like 150 raids for this comp. I got a T-bow. Fucking luck. It's
So
like
sick.
a little over 500 KC. So I've been doing some like Slayer pet hunting. I've been doing a good bit of Inferno. I've done like 10 KC the last 2 weeks. Doing a bit of CM, like solo CM as well. Kind of just chill pet hunting. I don't really have any major goals. I have top pet. I'm still doing a bit of top. I kind of would like to get a Sang actually. I don't really care about Scythe. I have Bandos pet, which is like the one thing that Scythe is really big for.
Oh damn.
So it would be nice for some things. It'd be nice for Seracnus. It'd be nice for.
It's actually pretty big for a
Probably
lot
nice.
of the Slayer pets.
I mean, I have Smoke Devil pet. I have Serb pet. I don't have Sire. I think Arclight's fine there,
Arclight's
though.
good,
I mean,
yeah.
yeah, Scythe would be sick. I really want Sang. I want Sang because I'm still not done with Cox. I need Ancestral Top and Bottom and Claws, which are all pretty good items. So Sang would kind of let me do no preps. So right
Do you
now,
have
just
Homework?
kind of, I don't know, that's another reason I kind of want Sang, just because it's so big there.
Gotcha.
So no, I'm not playing a whole lot these days. Kind of log in, PVM a little bit, talk shit with the boys. Yeah, that's about it.
Do you have
What have
any,
you guys been up to?
Do you have any like competitions or anything you're running with anybody? You know.
Oh yeah, I found some sucker who was willing to. I'm currently 22 pets. I found some sucker who's 23 pets who was willing to make a bet with me 100 mil to see who would get to 20 or 30 pets first. So I have 8 to go. He has 7 to go. I honestly can't even remember his in-game name. It's like his Twitter's something like solo
People
Iron
ping.
Woogly Junior whatever. He's like 50 million fire making or some shit. But yeah,
50
I'm gonna
million.
gonna
I'm
gonna whoop his
106,
ass.
my dude.
Gonna whoop his ass. Get
Uh,
30 pets in the next 12 months.
I'm
Maybe.
looking forward to that though. It's nice to have like a friendly competition, with someone. Even though like, we're not necessarily either of us going hard at all. We're just
Yeah.
like it's kind of friendly competition. And I'll kick your ass. So
I will say, I honestly am having a ton of fun with the game right now. Like, I kind of have been struggling for a while. Like the last like 6 months, I was playing the game where I've loved skilling. I always have. I love talking about it. I love the methods. I love doing it. But I feel like I've had so many IRL obligations pulling me away from it. Where I some people can do this, and I respect them a lot. I can't enjoy the skilling play style playing 15 hours a week.
No,
It's just not enough. It's like you can play as efficiently as you want, but like the idea that I'm just like constantly falling behind people who want to like hands and pants, AFK, Zaya rune crafting, no offense, Bubbsy, 16 hours a day. Like the fact that I can't keep up with that, trying to like efficiently skill for 3 hours in the evening, like it kind of burnt me out of that. And I think I really struggled for a while with like, is there a future for me with this game? I was like, I'm frustrated with it. I felt like Ironman mode was getting trivialized in so many ways. I was like, I don't know. I'm enjoying the game now though. I don't know how long I'll keep playing, but for now I'm enjoying kind of the casual pet hunting play style, doing a little bit of PVM. Yeah, I'm happy with the game. I think I have probably the best relationship with it now that I have in a long time. So I'm thankful for that.
It's actually a nice like segue into kind of where I'm at as well. Like a little bit more kind of getting into it a bit more casually and having like the mindset of like taking it at your own pace. You can like do pet hunting, PVM stuff whenever you kind of feel like it. And it just feels more self-paced, rather than skilling, which feels like a race a little bit. I always say that I 100% peaked when I got top page this year, and that was one of my like biggest goals of Ironman. And I was top page for I think all of 40 minutes.
Wait, who passed you right away?
It was Smithy. I passed Smithy.
Oh, is he back? Is he still back? I haven't been like following high scores at all.
I don't think he's going hard at all, but he's back. He's playing more casually as well. But
good for him.
I was pretty much like, because he's Aussie too, I believe, and I pretty much was just like doing a bunch of like Alt Slayer for like super fast rates, fire making, and then like a bit of like 0-time thieving kind of thing. So just DMP skills, like not necessarily getting the biggest EHP kind of thing. But my goal was front page. That was it. So as soon as I got it, I basically was just like at Smithy in the CC. Yo, it's all good, man. You can log out now.
Dude, I think when you and I did our ramble together, you were like almost front page, bro. Like I've been logging in the stupid DMP push. I'm so ready. Like you just gotten your scythe at that point. You're like, I just want to pet hunt. I just want to get this front page. I'm gonna get the screenshot, and I'll be done with this.
Yeah, that's exactly like unironically how I felt. It was just like a bucket list thing that I wanted to do, and I did it, and then I got to log out and got to like start playing more casually. So it's been nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. I don't know if were you recording when Bubbsy was talking?
Yeah, I was actually.
Okay. I'd still like to hear him expand on it. Surely there has to be more than blood rune crafting. I have to believe.
Yeah, like there definitely is, but like I had this kind of conversation with a few people, like as you do when you max an Ironman. It's like, okay, what's next? Like obviously other Ironmen know that you're gonna max and then you're not gonna perma log out like everyone expects you to do. Like all those people that say, "Oh, you're maxed. Why are you here?" Which is
at Vatty.
Yeah, at Vatty. Why are you here? You're maxed. And like it was basically like being too late to the game mode to care about going for ranks, essentially. So I just made like a decision to do what I enjoy skilling wise. So like I'm 6 skills short of 20 mil base now, and obviously those 6 skills are the ones that I don't enjoy the most. And then so what else is there other than going for ranks is gear progression and completion. So I try and infuse those two together to be able to play as like a PVMer going for gear completion, while also when I do get that piece of gear, having the supplies to fund it, whether if that's a scythe or whatever it may be, just ensuring that I've got GP on my account and doing those things efficiently. And yeah.
It's a good mindset to have too. Like, can I ask, are you a completionist? Would you label yourself a completionist, Bubbsy?
To a certain extent, yes, but
Let me ask you
not.
this. This is a completionist label. Are you doing mastery clues after Bloodhound?
No.
All right, yeah, that's
But,
the same.
I've been
yeah,
super freaking lazy since I got my hand.
yeah, it's definitely to a certain extent. Like, there's people who are completionists who want to see everything, green in their collection log marked off and ticked off. I'm not to that extent. Definitely still more of an enjoyment completionist.
Yeah, me too. Like, I'll give the example of like Slayer. When I do Slayer, I will still like do alt Slayer, Nex, Smokes, Dusties while I'm like Slayer pet hunting, you know?
Mm.
I think that's perfect. I think that's exactly like. Sorry, I completely cut you off. I have a terrible habit of doing that, but you
That's
know what?
okay.
I'm gonna run with it. I think if I came back with a long term goal for this game, it's not going to be just straight all pets. I think that's a miserable way to play the game.
Yeah.
I could see myself wanting to just do like 200 mil Slayer with like the couple fast ass Nex, Abby, Smokes, maybe Dust, and then every pet that goes along with that, right? So like all of your like actual Slayer pets, like Zammy, Arma, Inferno, Jad, like just I could see that being an enjoyable way to play the game moving into the future.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
it's it seems like I don't know. I think it's kind of it's fun. I also for the first time ever, I feel like I'm like kind of playing Ironman mode the way Jagex like actually approves of. Which I don't give a shit if Jagex approves of it, but like I think
190k
that
an hour Smokes? Hell yeah.
like I think updates will like actually cater to the way I play the game now. Whenever I was skilling, I was like, whatever update comes out, like what are the odds that it actually helps me? But
Yeah.
now I'm like,
Or even
yeah, they're
affects you in a certain way.
like they're probably gonna release more bosses with more alkables on them. I can use
Mhm.
my top weapons more places,
Hell
shit like
yeah.
that. Like, I don't know. It's like it's actually kind of like it just feels good to not feel like I'm in opposition of Jagex. Like that's how I always felt when I was skilling. Was like I'm playing the game in a way that Jagex actually straight up hates, and like it's never gonna get easier. But like I don't know, the pet hunting slash completionist playstyle is just like I don't know. It feels good.
It's relaxing, right? It's relaxing playing casually.
I feel so at peace with just the way I look at the game. Like I don't know how else to describe it. Like I kind of miss skilling. A part of me wishes I could have somebody pay for my rent for 3 years so I could go for 200 mil on an Ironman. But
But that's the only like way you would do it, right? Like you would find enjoyment in like being able
yeah,
to just like smash it out. But like you would enjoy it if you were able to, but it just
oh, I
your
would.
life
I'd love it.
situations, right?
Yeah, like I looked at it. It came to a point where I looked at it and I was like, what could happen? Like I was trying to think. Like for me to get 200 mil all, either A, I'm in neat for 4 years and the game doesn't get well, like, I don't want the game to get faster, right? Like I wouldn't enjoy it if it was RS3. If I could AFK every skill for 150k an hour, I wouldn't enjoy the skilling grind.
Mm.
But if the game doesn't get faster, it would take me 3 years of playing 5k years to finish.
Yeah,
So
or more.
yeah, or more. I mean, I don't know. If I was in neat, maybe I wouldn't get out of bed some days. I don't know. But like it's I think I kind of came to a realization where I was like, do I love this playstyle enough on its own to accept that I'm never going to achieve any of these long term goals? Whereas I feel like I'm actually achieving meaningful goals now with the way I'm playing the game. That I never got that same satisfaction out of the skilling. Like I'd get like 50 mil in a skill, and I was like, damn, I'm a quarter of the way there. Like that's all I felt.
Were
I
you
don't
like
know.
expecting like more of a satisfaction of getting the 50 mil? Like, is that why?
I think I don't know. I feel like I don't know if I was actually ready to talk about this on this podcast. I felt like
Everyone's
Getting emotional.
I had so much respect for the way some other skillers played the game, like the way they found satisfaction in achieving like extremely long term goals. Where I felt like I tried to translate that into medium term goals, and I think I kind of came to realize that like what I enjoyed about it wasn't like actually achieving those midterm goals themselves. Like I enjoyed this, like I liked being part of the skilling community.
Yeah,
Like I liked talking to the people. I liked being around people who like loved this game and were motivated to play it. But like when I kind of took a break from that, like when I moved to school and like when I started like actually just being like I was like, just extremely distracted. I wasn't keeping up with the community at all. Like when I tried to get back into it, like that after being separated from the community, I just wasn't there. And now I think I've kind of come to a point where I'm like like I talk with my friends all day, all the time on Discord, right? Like I feel like I have the community aspect, and it doesn't require me to at the same time like
be doing
log in and do like an
40.
110-hour fishing week. Like I don't have to do that to myself to like feel a part of it.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think I don't really know what the future is for me for this game, but I'm kind of happy not playing a ton of hours anymore. I don't know. It's hard to describe, really.
It is for sure.
I know. I mean, you've surely gone through the same thing. I mean, you put all the hours in on like the skilling side of things to end up where you're at now. Like, I think you appreciate it in the same way that I do, but like you and I both, like it's not. We're not getting 200
we're
mil.
like a
all.
scarily similar player type, I think. You and
Yeah.
Jake, for example.
I mean, yeah. I mean, when are you gonna stop copying my goals, dude?
Dude, you're a pet behind me, so who's copying who?
Yeah, dude, Spoon Bloodhound. He thinks he's a pet.
Well, you have to. As soon as you've been a bloodhound, right? You have to become a pet hunter.
Isn't that the whole?
Choice.
That's the whole Ironman meta? Spoon either corp or bloodhound, and you're a pet hunter. You're halfway done.
Pretty much. Speaking of which, I didn't really talk about my own like what I'm doing in the game, but I mentioned doing corp. So I think corp is basically like my future until they nerf it, basically, or I get pet. So yeah, we'll see. I think that's just like the most important like on my priority list right now. But otherwise, yeah, kind of going just towards the 30 pet mark kind of thing. I think that'll be like that's like my medium tier goal, I guess I would say, or medium length goal. Yeah, I don't know. There's a couple different ones that I've been kind of working towards. Corp being like the main one right now. But I did do a lot of Seracnus. I actually took quite a liking to doing Alt Nightmare, actually. I did a little bit for the bingo, the Olympus bingo that was at the beginning of January. And I actually started to enjoy it in a weird way. I was kind of being super reclined about it, using like a Blood Fury on like P2 and stuff like that. So you didn't have to, eat too much. And for sure, I like planked a bunch when I was learning it, but it was actually pretty enjoyable. Just being able to like learn the method and realize like how much faster kind of your kills are being. But that in itself, if you ult it, like you double essentially your pet rate from 1 in 800 to 1 in 1600, just because you have 2 accounts in there. But just from the fact that you have to do so many kills anyways, you have to do like 3,600 solos roughly for like completion, that it doesn't essentially matter really. Like you want the items, so you're going double or more the pet rate anyways.
Can we agree as PVMers who kind of like skilling that Blood Fury is like the best thing to ever happen to this game? I can tap the 5 key on my keyboard and get 250k thieving XP an hour and then go AFK any melee bots.
Just wait for that spell to come out.
Dude.
What's the spell? Oh, the one that reduces
the arcade spell.
Yeah.
Is that coming? I feel like I haven't seen anything about that. Just discussion in Discord.
It passed.
But I'm kind of out of the loop.
It passed the poll already. It's coming with the Kingdom Divides. I think it's the Zaya Master Quest or whatever.
Okay.
Grandmaster, I'm not sure. But
I see.
But yeah, that's pretty much my goal is kind of just doing some relaxed pet hunting and corp in my near future. So.
Yeah, handshake there, dude. I've actually.
Which handshake, from my second or my third ult?
I was gonna say I know we're done talking about alting, but I have one corp alt lined up. I'm waiting for the dude to get tired of playing the second one, and then I'll do corp too.
Man, I made my own. Right, so
I know. Yeah, respect to you, dude. I can't. Honestly, I could stomach everything except the bandos. I refuse to do another 500 bandos or more.
I didn't go
It's not
Bubbsy
for
dry.
me.
Like I did 885 kills for my hilt. But
I didn't have a
starting,
problem with the hilt. I got 6 of them.
yeah, exactly. Starting from like god dog shit gear though. Like, did you see my gear?
I did. I
start
saw your
to?
video. I saw your video, like the scuffed gear flicking or whatever.
Holy shit! I had a regular like Dragon Defender, regular whip, D boots, Darok helmet, like Torag's legs. Dude, it was just like pretty scuffed.
Bubsy and I went like the exact same KC for bandos, but I'll say bandos was actually the least enjoyable thing I've ever done in this game.
It's
It
way
was like the only
better with
time.
the instances.
Oh, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Like it was over. Like I had like a 3 or 4 week period between when I stopped working and before school started. Like I just completely shifted my sleep schedule, so I was doing bandos every night from like 1 a.m. to 10 a.m. And like
Yeah.
Jesus,
I went like 1500 for BCP, and I was just
miserable.
I actually wanted to stop playing the game. Like dead
Yeah,
serious. That's the
I
closest I ever came to it.
also shifted sleep to be able to get a world and actually kill the boss. And
Yep.
and did it on the 2200 worlds, which we all know have crazy amounts of
God.
world lag. And initially I set out doing the BC Guppy method, but because of the 2200 world lag, it was honestly impossible to do. And I ended up doing the 6-0 kiting method, running around the room for majority of my KC.
Dude, the 6-0 is a godsend for people who have to play on
Yeah.
Total Worlds. That shit was
Like-
amazing.
Yeah, like these days you've got instances do BC Guppy method, or be a god tier gamer and flick your prayers like Loug. But yeah, back then it was 6-0 was just, that was like the only way I was ever going to get it, because Aussie Worlds, you've either got Vennies on there, or you've got teams that are hopping between 2 worlds, or just other Ironmen. The worlds are just always full. But that 2200 world at 2 a.m, that was my time to shine.
Man.
Yeah. Let me ask you guys this. I think all of us are relatively casual gamers, which I feel like is something I've had to say in every one of the Rambles I've ever
Yeah,
done.
you say that.
I know. Well, I was going to ask
Did you trying to
just
convince
this.
yourself, or?
Yeah, dude, I can quit, right? Not addicted. But how do you feel about the idea that, I mean, I know it's kind of a meme at this point that Raids 3 is delayed, but I feel like with the more completionist playstyle, the goals and the playstyle and stuff are going to keep changing, right? Like every time major content gets released, like you have new items to grind,
Like your
you have new pets
priority
to
list,
grind.
are you saying?
Not necessarily even the priorities, but just the stuff to do. I felt like with skilling, the goals were so static. Like if at this point, if you're playing the game 15 hours a week, 20 hours a week, like I don't know if you're realistically ever going to actually fully catch up with all the stuff that's being released.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Like does
It's
that
definitely
how do you
something
feel
that I
about
see a
that?
lot of. Yeah, like there's so many uninformed people. But at the same time, I feel like Jagex do a really good job of, if you want to understand the new content that just come out, then you can go and read these blogs and that kind of thing. But word of mouth is more the transfer of information in this game. It isn't for me personally. I am one that goes and reads the blogs and votes on the polls and reads what's happening. But if I did quit for 6 months, I could come back and it would take because of weekly updates. I'm not saying they're a bad thing, but it would just take a substantial amount of time to see what's changed. And I think that's that's especially apparent for people who only do play those 15 hours a week. I can't imagine knowing, everything about a weekly update or a poll or the community stance on something if you're only playing those hours.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe it's just me, but I feel like I'm able to relatively easily stay somewhat in touch with the community itself and community perception. I mean, granted, I'm mostly classes are from home and stuff, so I can go on.
Yeah, you're on Discords where people
I can go on Discord
all the time. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess I'm not truly removed, maybe like some people are. But like I don't know, I don't feel like I'm ever actually gonna be able to like fully catch up with everything. Like at this point, even just like with my own timeline, like if assuming I go roughly on rate for like finishing like the chambers items I have left, the top items I have left. Like I don't even think I'm
Like
going to
before the
really be able...
next kind of real
Yeah,
release, yeah.
exactly.
know what
Like
you
I might
mean.
get like a
There's no way we're
slight dent
finishing
into
Nightmare.
Nightmare.
Like,
Yeah, I might get like maybe a couple armor pieces, but fuck all chance that I finish like orb set before the new content. So like I don't know. I think it's just kind of a different mindset to like make peace with the idea that you're never going to fully be caught up on the game.
but in the same way, isn't that the same idea that a lot of people like take Olympus for example, like play in terms of a skilling mindset? You kind of like play with the efficient mindset, but you know you're never realistically gonna get to them all, right? So is
I
that
mean,
kind of similar?
I guess it is, right? Like maybe a couple Ironmen will finish 200 mil, all but our most definitely not. So yeah, maybe it's just for whatever reason this mindset has clicked more with me than the skilling one did. It's difficult to say.
I have one thing that I think changed my perception of it. Maybe not changed, but like fits my playstyle a bit more. And that's the fact that I'm like super OCD when it comes to like my goals and like what I want to do in game. I like will bounce off the walls in terms of like changing goals, changing like what content I want to do and stuff like that. And just all the time, like I can constantly change what I want to do, like every couple weeks, couple months. So I don't know. Sometimes I do find it hard to like actually stick to a couple things, but you know, it feels good to achieve those like goals that you stick to for sure. But I find more enjoyment of having the freedom to like do different things, and you know, at the same time, like sure, I could like go do different skills, right? But I also like am enjoying right now being able to just like hunt kind of whatever pet I want, do whatever like PVM I want to get whatever item I want, right? So
Yeah, and that friendly bet that you two have about the 30 pet goal that's definitely helping there, isn't it?
for sure. Like,
Yeah, man, I definitely want Loug's money, right? Like 100 mil, $30. I'm getting a round of drinks that night on Loug.
Dude, you know how much you know how much that 100 mil do you know how many corp boosts that's gonna buy me?
Man, wait. Can we just touch on briefly? There's so many Ironmen paying like 2.5 mil per kill for
Dude,
somebody
it's like
spec
3
shit
mil
down
in
for
some
them.
places.
Is it actually that?
Yeah.
What
per
are you
kill.
doing? If you like, how do these people have this much money? Like it's over
It's
10
mean.
bill if you were to go for Ellie.
Yeah.
Like where are these people getting this money? Is it just people who are like working IRL who are like, fuck it, I'm spending a third of my pay this year on corp boosting? Like I didn't
know.
realize it was a thing till like a week
I
ago,
feel
so I
like
guess it's
it's
kind
gotta
of
be
fresh for me.
some people who like have I actually didn't realize it to the extent it was till recently either, but I think it's also some people, like it has to be some people who just like used to have mains back in the day kind of thing, and they were like ultra rich on their mains, right?
It would have to be, right? Like they're not
But
getting
is
that
there
much in
that
dupes
many
on
of
their
those
Ironman.
people? I don't know.
There's a couple. I only found out of it. It's a couple of my buddies are like doing the specking for people, and like apparently
They're
there's
making
more
so much
demand
money,
for
yeah.
it than they can provide.
Yeah.
Like they literally are like, yeah. Every time they log on, there's people who are wanting them to spec court. Just I don't know. The whole services thing kind of mind boggles me. Just because maybe it's just me. I've always been kind of broke on my ult. Like I have a couple hundred mil to like get like Inferno gear or PK or whatever, but like, dude, I'm not buying shit on it. What?
Yeah.
I have to worry about how much I'm spending on PK supplies if I go PKing.
My ult's just a bond machine, you know.
Like, are these people like? Do these people all have like 6 Tebow dupes that they're spending? I don't know. I'm a boomer, I guess. I don't understand how people get money these days.
I was gonna ask Bubbsy how much money he has on his ult, and then I realized.
I do have an ult. He runs in and out of raids. He's dressed up like a king. It's got 600 mil on it,
That's not
and
too
I
bad.
guess
that
what-
basically just goes towards
Just 200
splits.
corp kills.
Oh, let's go.
That's it.
I guess one of the downsides of finishing chambers at 800 KC is you don't get a lot of dupes.
Yeah. And also not doing it on release when dexes were like 300 mil.
Yeah.
I guess speaking of alt security or alt money, do we want to touch on account security a bit?
Let's
I feel like
let's
it's kind of hard not to.
yeah,
Yeah, I
let's
definitely
pick
wanted
this.
to talk
Let's pick this
about
as the last
account
call.
security
Yeah,
with
that's fine.
like
Yeah, go ahead, Bubbsy. You had a lot to say.
yeah, with like an Olympus member top page getting hacked recently. I won't go into like major details about that hack specifically, but there's no denying that it's still an issue in the game, and I don't know any other game where account security is like that big a topic. So there's definitely things that are wrong with it and need fixing. Granted, there are a lot of players that don't take all the available options to secure their account.
Mm-hmm.
I think the can't log in is another story in itself, and another kind of example of JX's technical ability of not being able to fix things in the game. Because I feel like if they could fix it, they probably would. But yeah, I've got like a hot take, I guess you would say, on like a way to fix a small factor of account security that I'll probably go back to when you guys just have a little general rant if you want to talk about some stuff.
Sure.
But like it's a problem that needs fixing. Do something. Like I don't know. That's as bland as it can be.
Juke, what's your like general overview on account security, hacking, etc.?
I don't know, dude. This shit is so sad. Like honestly, I don't want to say like saying breaks your heart is like it feels like a cliche at this point, but this is like the one thing in this game that's just like
It makes you feel sick.
It genuinely
It does.
does. And like I get there are people who abuse it, right? There are people who legitimately bought and then complain that they got hacked or banned or whatever. There are people who sell gold or account share or whatever. But like the amount of people I know who legitimate like just even semi-casual players who get their account hacked and there's nothing they can do about it.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just I don't even know what Jagex can do. I mean, like everything is I feel like everything has been said at this point, right? Like in terms of offering, like actually being able to talk to people in support, like all of that just it's so lacking. It's so lacking in like every possible aspect that like how do you even criticize it? Like I feel like anything you point out, people can be like, "Oh, well, what about this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's a problem too." Just I don't know. No, I don't I can't fathom like account security being this bad and being this hard to secure something. Like
Yeah.
no other like think about just how many IRL like online accounts and stuff you use in your real life. Just everything, right? Like your school, work, all your personal shit. Like I don't think there's a single thing that I actually have to worry about being like losing access to that I can't get it back, right? Like maybe it will happen every once in a while, but I can get it right back, right? Like but
and you haven't lost hours or days worth of progress.
Or years.
Your years, yeah.
It just
40,000 Vorkath kills, for example.
well, like my account is literally as secure as it could be. It's a completely unique email. It was made before I was even smart enough to know what to use it for and not to use it for. It's I don't know. I feel like I shouldn't have any reason to worry myself, but I still do because like you can't not. Like especially the more you PVM, like I mean you see like it feel like so many people who PVM like you just become a target. It's not like it's happened to the majority of people, but still.
Going into the unique email point though, did you guys hear about what happened to Wooks when he started playing leagues? Did you hear about this too?
Was that the recovery where they got his email somehow? Like somebody just sent it to him?
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. So like he couldn't log on to Wooks, his normal main, for everyone listening who didn't hear about this. So he made a new account to then be able to play leagues until JX could fix that issue of too many login attempts for his Woot's main account. This alt that he made, obviously unique email created to make that an account. Someone emailed JX and said that I can't remember the specifics, but basically JX just emailed back the user login to this random person of Wooks's brand new account.
Yikes for me, dog.
So that unique email giving us it's giving us a false sense of security at the end of the day, if that's going on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Like, what do you do? All my shit is secure, but I can't actually feel good about it.
We've all got those steps done. Hope everyone listening has authenticator, bank pin, unique email, changes their password regularly. I do that. I still don't feel safe.
You know what? Literally the only thing, and there's been like rumors of people like breaching it, but I think the bank pin is literally the most secure piece of security you can have on your account.
Yeah.
People say it's been gotten through, but even for them, like, it seems like the one thing that like they don't always get through.
Yeah.
Like, you hear every now and then about somebody being like, "Oh, like, yeah, they got through," but
you don't know.
oh, sorry, I'm getting attacked. I'm getting attacked. Vediana might be distracted for a split second.
That's all good. I'll take over then. I think one of the most one of the saddest things for me that like is really just the most heartbreaking is when someone like can't physically use their account after it's been compromised due to the fact that
I got out. Let's fucking go.
Let's go.
Shout out Black Diva.
But
yeah,
just
dude, actually,
due to the fact that you will keep getting compromised because that recovery information is like now known, right? So you can keep recovering the same account over and over with the same information an infinite amount of times. So what is the point of ever using the account again, right? You might as well just start over or call it quits.
Yeah, for everything we talk about, like in terms of keeping our own account secure, like the other side of that, which is just like actually the sadder part to talk about, is that like once one of those gets compromised, like Jagex basically just says like, dude, you're fucked. Like the fact that there's no way to resecure, or like you could have the same account, like same login or whatever that you've had for 15 years, and if you were stupid about it one point, like 10 years ago, like you're just never resecuring it because it's just a crapshoot that if they recover it, yeah, like
the account is literally a write-off.
Maybe it's the Friday afternoon and whatever Jagex intern is reviewing that recovery request has decided that like, oh, it looks kind of right? Like they got your IRL first name and your login from 12 years ago. Then
can you guys name another game or website where you can't change your login email for that account?
I think League you can.
Like, dude, you think I play other games?
Yeah, other game I play.
Yeah, but just like websites in general. Like, what's another one? Just any example, like where you can't change the email that you log in with.
I mean, no, there's nothing.
Is League of Legends one of them? Sorry, Loug.
Yeah, I don't think you can change the actual login. Like, obviously, you can change your, like, I think you can actually change your. It's called like summoner name, which is essentially like your display name.
Right.
Old school. But I don't think you can change like what you actually log in with. But that's also not a problem because, like, unless they find your password, they can't like, get access to that. And
they don't have
your account.
Yeah, they don't have other ridiculously easy ways to get into your account.
Yeah, and they can't bar you from They can't lock you out of your account by spamming that login.
This game is kind of unique too, in that like most games don't have the same incentive to hijack other accounts.
That's right. Yeah.
Like poor security coupled with rewarding people for hacking accounts the way this game does. Like, it's just such a shitty combination, and I don't know. Like, I maybe I even should have said something when we saw that like this was going to be one of the topics for the Ramble, but like, I almost don't even know what to say. Like, what hasn't been said at this point?
Yeah,
It's so abysmal. Like, do anything about it.
Yeah, like everything's been said. The auth delay. Why can't we change emails? Like,
Auth
you know,
delay.
just auth delay basically a meme at this point. I'm honestly still a fan of that being a thing though. But yeah, I don't know why they haven't done anything. There's obviously some big technical reasons behind the scenes. But yeah, like aside from a technical reason, this is the hot take that I had thought about. Like, obviously, the technical fixes that they should do are way better than this, and that's definitely my preference. But something that could be easily implemented is essentially, and it would be main accounts as well. Some may hear this and think it's just Ironman related, but travel parchment, but a travel parchment that locks an item to your account. You can't drop it, you can't trade it if you're a main, and you also can't go into the wilderness with it.
Hmm.
That's like, it sounds good. It's not,
Yeah, like it's obviously got its flaws, but that's something that they could literally implement like that without all the technical behind the scene, you know, whatever their excuse is for not allowing us to, you know, do auth delay or changing emails or whatever.
At the
It's
same
something
time,
in game that can be implemented. So it would be really good for Ironman to be able to keep items on their account, because no one is going to drop across their only T-Bow or only Dragon Warhammer, short of like quitting the game and real world trading it, because that's obviously horrible for the game in itself.
Mhm.
And then for main accounts as well, it would just be healthy for the whole staking thing of people selling, you know, like selling off their items, getting a big cash stack and blowing it all. I think if they you know, were in a good mindset when they bought that item and said, I'm never going to sell this, it would be a healthy mindset for main accounts to do it like that, because it eliminates that as a factor, as well as that as for the main account economy. It also essentially removes that item from the game, because it means it's not going to be traded back and forth.
it also means, yeah. The only thing is that there's a couple things that I see flawed in that. The first thing I think, at the end of the day, it's just an item, right? So like you're not going to be able to permanently keep everything on your account, for example, right? So at the end of the day, if someone does like, you know, end up getting access,
For sure.
sure, you can keep your T-Bow, you can keep your site, you can keep your like Kodai one, whatever, you know,
Yeah.
your nightmare stuff, but like, you know, everything else is gone.
Yeah.
So you might have some key items which, you know, do save you hours to get back and stuff like that.
But on an iron, like I'm looking at my herb tab right now, it's 132 mil. My pot and food tab is 200 mil. Like that would just all be gone.
Yeah, so
Would
it's
I
a lot more than
still
just a
want to
couple items.
quit? Would I still want to quit? Yes. But would my TiVo still be in my bank? Yes.
Yeah.
I guess there's a little bit of security there. Like I said, the account security and auth delay, those are the better options, but that's like at least something. I don't know. I guess it's
Yeah.
another sense of false security.
My other point to that was I feel like it's just a band-aid fix when like the real issue is, and
Mm.
you kind of admitted it, like the real issue is actually the account itself security, right? It's not like the gaining access and the recovering and stuff like that's the real
Yeah.
access. If you could prevent that, you don't have to put the trooper parchments or whatever, right, on the accounts.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
Like
Yeah.
the fact that people make mistakes, that happens. That's always going to happen. People are going to make mistakes. They're not going to take advantage of all the available settings, securities, and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even people make mistakes when they have all those things in place and do get compromised. But it's the fact that like once you do get compromised, you're pretty fucked. So
Yeah, like I've heard of a few stories of people in like I don't know, they bought a new phone, so they disable auth, and then they just don't re-enable it because they've forgotten that they've disabled it or whatever. And in like the 2 months or whatever that it may have been, they got hacked, and they admit, oh, I didn't actually have auth on, but here's why. Like that's like but for the rest of their account life, they had that authenticator on.
Yep.
And that's like one of those mistakes that people can make that just, while it's not their fault, they would, like, because the security of the game is still flawed, they would still feel horrible because it's essentially something that they didn't do that they could have done to prevent being hacked.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, and I mean you have people too, like, I don't know, with how long this game has been around, like, what do you do if somebody legitimately did do something quote unquote wrong with the account they play now? Like, what if they did share it with somebody 10 years ago? Or like, what if like it was actually their friend, like, from down the block when they were 9 who made the account and they've played it for the last 13 years? Like, the fact that Jagex just says that account can no longer be secured regardless of circumstances. Like, even if you provide all of the necessary information, they just say, we're always going to default to whoever can provide XYZ amount of information in the recovery form. Like,
which isn't that much, by the way. They don't need.
It's really not.
Stuff.
No. It just.
Yeah, it's even less compared to what it was back in the day. Like back in the day, it had those ridiculous questions of like
Security
favorite
questions.
pets and blah blah blah, and like they're just not there anymore.
Yeah, I mean,
I think we're beating a dead horse on this one. But
yeah, I mean, I feel like almost any discussion of account security is not that like it's wrong to talk about, but like, I mean, I think every single person who discusses it is in agreement that it's just terrible. Like, there's no opposing viewpoints to consider. It's just, yeah, it sucks.
Yeah, it sucks, and it's always in the back of our mind, and it really shouldn't be. It's sad.
But at the same time, like when it's happening all around you, like you do take those. At least I would hope a lot of us would take those like extra measures, and as many as we can, just to make sure that we're doing as much as we can, really. But you know, at the same time, like I mentioned, and we all said, we're all guilty of making mistakes occasionally, whether it's just like getting a new phone and forgetting to re-enable Authenticator, or whether that's using an old email, you know, to log in, or the mistake of having a legacy account where you have like your username equal to your like display name, right? So you get spam logged in.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it just, I don't know. Maybe they'll do something with it. It feels like one of those things too, where I feel like you just kind of have to accept it for what it is. Like, I've already made up my mind that if like a single person ever accesses my account for any reason, like it's done, right? Like, I'm not going to waste time logging into it. I'm not even going to have that discussion with myself or my friends. Like, it's so sad that has to be the reality, that like any slip up in any fashion, like whether or not you're at fault, because I mean, plenty of people are, right? Like, I feel like when you get to drilling some people who got hacked, like they might have made a mistake at one point, right? Like, oh, you didn't, like, you streamed once and your PayPal email was the same as your like login email. Like, yeah, dude, you're fucked now, right? Like, it's your fault. But just
and it sucks. Like at the same time as like wanting information about how that person specifically got hacked for like your own benefit, it sucks asking that person who just got hacked why they got hacked. Like, yeah.
And then you have to deal with all the people who like act like somebody would like real world trade 30,000 4CAP worth of skilling supplies on an Ironman for like maybe 2 months of rent. Like, just shit like that. Just every aspect of it is, it's fucked. If I don't know if anyone, like anybody from Jagex, is actually going to listen to me and these two freaks whine about the game for 4 hours now. But like, if any of you are actually still listening at this point, just please do something. I know it's probably not even your job.
Mod Arcane said he needed something to cook to. He's He's slow roasting something right now.
And like at the same time too, I know it's not even like the content developers who are to
Yeah,
blame
like
for
they
this.
they can't even do anything, you know.
Yeah, just
Oh yeah.
an unfortunate reality of the game. I've kind of made my peace with it to an extent.
Yeah, you have to, right? Otherwise, what's the point of logging in? But
And
there's
some
some.
week,
Do you guys know? What's his name? K. It's K something. He's like second page Ironman. Kalen. K. Frick, what's his?
Kalon,
Kalon. That's him. Yeah.
he doesn't. Does he still play? I remember he
Okay,
used to play.
so the reason he quit, and I think he quit now, is the fact that he wasn't sure. Like he was like super inefficient. Like he did Winter Todd without a hammer. Like he did like stupid shit like that.
I remember watching his streams. He used to upload his full streams to
Yeah,
YouTube.
yeah,
He
same
paid
guy.
for tree protection with unnoted fruit. Like he'd run like two.
Three
He'd
like
run
trips to
like
the
two
bank, right?
inventory. Yeah, he'd run like two inventories of fruit to the protection person.
Yeah, he was a weird
Like,
guy. But
yeah,
the reason why he quit, if you're curious, was because he couldn't guarantee that his account would be safe. And there was something coming up, like he said it on like stream or video one time, where he said like, you know, if my like I'm really scared about like my account getting compromised or lost or something like that. But like my mom or my parents say that if I ever do lose it, they'll like walk right up to Jags HQ and they'll demand it back and like stuff like that. And I'm just like, man, yeah. But at the same time, like he straight up ended up quitting the game because of that. Like he never got hacked, he never got compromised. He just quit it because he couldn't guarantee the safety of his account.
Yeah.
yeah. Like in a sense, I don't blame them, right? Because like every time you look at somebody who did invest that much time and is like in the middle of working towards a goal, and it just becomes unachievable. Like I don't know. Like some people might consider it stupid to quit for a reason like that, but is it any less stupid to just wait for it to happen? Like even if it's not likely to happen to you, if it does happen to you, are you somehow then stupid for quitting afterwards? I don't know. I don't know. I feel like I've said I don't know like 30 times when having this discussion, but I feel like that's all I can think when I have to have this discussion about this
Yeah.
topic.
Yeah.
No, I agree. I think we've said most of what needs to be said.
Yeah, shout out to anybody who actually listened to this shit for 4 hours
Yeah,
now.
we've been
Sound
at this
sound
for a
off in the
while.
sound off in the comments if you I'll come through in
Yeah,
like a
please
month or
leave
two and see if you did.
leave comments.
Do you
What
guys want to talk about prayer, new outfit, and
Oh, we didn't talk.
the spell book?
I think that
Or
deserves its own. To be honest, we can even
yeah, for
make
sure.
another. I think to be honest, we've hit like just about 4 hours and probably enough for tonight. But
Call
Yeah.
it a day.
I won't say it's definitively gonna happen, but we did talk a little bit about. I mean, I know Loug and I are both extremely guilty of this, like not uploading
make a new
anything
one
on our
next week.
channels.
Nothing.
not in a week for sure, but we'll try to do maybe even the three of us,
Somewhat
like plus
reoccurring.
somebody else, like somewhat reoccurring. Yeah, maybe like bi-monthly or whatever.
That'd be cool.
There's
Yeah.
there's so
Doing
much
that.
shit to talk about. Like I feel like we've all felt a little bit guilty that at least especially for me, like anytime I make a video, I talk about like the most recent stuff that's been going on in the community, but like stuff happens so fast here that you maybe
Yeah.
only talk about like the last month or whatever, and you have to ignore everything that happened the last couple months before that you didn't upload. So
Yeah.
I don't
there's
know. I'll
plenty
make an
still to
effort.
talk to as well. Talk about rather. So
Yeah.
I'm inclined.
Yeah, it's
for sure
a really easy game to talk about.
Definitely. Like
We all think about it so much that
Yeah.
like it's not hard to talk about.
To put it in words, yeah, for sure. And just voice your opinions that you already have and you already think about every day. Anyway.
Yeah.
So yeah, what I'll do is I'll toss your guys's information, like your you guys' YouTube channels and stuff in the description for anyone who ends up getting to this point and kind of watching. Did you guys want to just quickly shout out your like Twitters and stuff at those of us who end up using their Twitters?
At the Bubbsy.
Dude, Luke can link my Twitter if I want, but fuck RuneScape Twitter.
Too negative.
and Twitter at large. Yeah, stop whining about everything. Which maybe is a little bit ironic, but I got tired of reading it.
Get off Reddit, Juke.
Yeah, no kidding. Reddit's next. Promise.
I love it.
Reddit should have
Yeah.
been first,
I will,
man.
I'll definitely leave your guys' information in the description. But yeah, otherwise, anyone who listens, I hope you guys kind of enjoyed the ranty Ironman whining episode 1. So yeah, I guess we'll kind of leave it there, and looking forward to hopefully getting some more content out and voicing our opinions more in the future. So
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
bye.